Race 2 last year at Clipsal was an epic battle, not only that last lap, but throughout the whole race with Jamie. It was real head-to-head, I think we both wanted it as much as each other.
The thunderous roar of 25 V8 supercars. Good job by Whincup. He moved around the outside. An even better run by Courtney. They are driving the wheels off these cars at the moment. This is a mighty battle.
I knew my biggest opportunity was down at turn 9.
He was really good on the brake into 9, so I knew on that last lap I had to have a massive go through turn 8.
Here comes Whincup. It's a nice exit over the top of the curve. Sit back and enjoy.
I had to make a really quick run through turn 8, and James did the same thing, so he threw it all on the line.
Courtney sliding all the way to the wow. Whincup right behind him. Here he comes.
Don't think I even hardly lifted. It was the quickest I went through there all weekend.
That was some of the best driving I've ever seen through there.
It wasn't as pretty as he's been through there before, but certainly got through there fast and didn't give me any opportunity to get past. And
a lot of people don't understand how much commitment you do require at that corner.
They are going to be one car length apart at the end of race number 2.
Heat of the battle, last lap, that much speed through there, that sideways with one of the best guys that's been in supercars, breathing down your neck. It was a good moment.
Absolute world-class motorsport.
We're actually here at Shannon's Race Central to answer a critical question. This is the 19th year of the Clipsal 500. You and I were here from day dot, you as a driver, me talking about you as a driver, and you try to unlock the key on what it is to make a winning start here. And I guess it comes down to 3 things: car, driver and team. So what have they got to do?
Well, it's not just the winning start, it's the winning strategy, it's the winning everything. It's a very unique event, isn't it, Matt? Particularly to start off the year. So first, some things that are specific to the car we've got to bring in. What are some of the issues? First of all, you've got to consider the track grip. Well, if you look at our car, I'd call this track probably about in the medium plus type area, so not such a big issue. Curb and bumps, well, they're off the scale. You've got to bring a car here that is really good on the curbs. You've got to use the curbs, and it's very bumpy because it's a street circuit. That's all about the shock absorber. Tyre degradation, well, here's about 0.3. Look down the bottom there, which isn't too much of a drama. But we get into some of the other aspects. Engine. Now, it goes without saying, every event, engine is critically important. But when we come to Adelaide, you've got to drag 1.5 tons of car when it's full of fuel off a lot of the slow corners up to a high speed. That, of course, requires engine. But usually that is determined by the limit of adhesion you have because your tyres are gone. So it's not so much about engine as what we would think. So I would say medium. Aero, this for me is a really tough one. If I show you here the average speed of a lot of the circuits we go to, Bathurst right up here at 176, you can see, mid-corner average speed 150. Clipsal is way back here. But the problem is, if you took into account turn 8, that really fast corner, the average speed would be right up here. So teams are really conflicted because the aero influence on the car, if I drag it along here, maybe I won't, yeah, there you go, is actually really high off the scale at turn 8, but for the rest of the circuit, it's really actually low because the corners are so slow. Very hard to sort your car out in that circumstance. So, as Matt alluded to, what are some of the things you need to do to be able to win at this event? What have you got to bring here? Well, let's go through a few of them. Firstly, with the car, you need the car to turn. Now, that sounds obvious. In our game, what turn means is point. The ability to get into the corner when you first crack the steering wheel. Right here, watch Shane Van Gisbergen, right at this point. Now, those little 90-degree corners over the back, 4, 5, 6, 7, very important that your car turns well. If the car doesn't turn well in the first instance, you can forget if it puts its power down well or not. It just doesn't matter. Then if we get to the next one, you've got to be brave. Don't think you can be a race driver here at this circuit without being brave. This is, of probably any corner in the country, the one where you need to be bravest. It's the one that takes its toll, most damage of anywhere we go. Hundreds of thousands of dollars done every year. I mean, you really need to have them strapped on at this particular event to do well here. You need fuel efficiency. Although there's a minimum fuel drop, and I'm going to explain a bit more about this tomorrow, you still need fuel efficiency. Why? Because it opens up your fuel window. And if you get to that critical lap, remember, that's the earliest in the race. If there's a safety car, something happens, you've got to dive in and fill up to make it all the way home. If you've got better fuel efficiency, that window might just open up another couple of laps. Really critical. Okay, next thing you bring along here is you need to have strategy smarts. The awful circumstances we see happen so often of the double stack. where both cars come in on a safety car, stack one behind the other, and the day is over for the second car. You've got to strategise yourself around that. You've got to have a different strategy, basically, for each of your cars, which is very, very hard to do. Easier said than done. High fitness goes without saying, but extraordinarily important here. Look at Scotty McLaughlin. In fact, I've never seen him look this fit, so that tells me heaps. You don't have match fitness when you arrive here for what is arguably our hardest event physically, and it's after our Christmas break. So that makes it particularly hard. So a lot of training in the off-season. Fitness needs to be at peak. Heat management, that's both in the car and the driver. We know dehydration causes mistakes. And tomorrow probably more than today, because it's very hard to recover tonight after losing so much sweat through the race today. These guys will be soaked and had it. By tomorrow afternoon, make no mistake, they will be making mistakes themselves. Okay, you need mechanical sympathy. What's mechanical sympathy? Basically, mechanical sympathy is the ability to manage the car during the day without breaking it. Some drivers are really good at it, some drivers are not good on it. Some drivers reef on the gearbox really hard, damage gearboxes. Other guys belt curbs really hard, damage the aero. And they're not necessarily things that will put you out of the race. But damaging your aero kit, for example, might make you a little bit slower through turn 8 for the rest of the day. Damaging your steering by hitting a curb too hard might just knock your steering out, make you slow for the rest of the day. Very, very important. And then finally, you've got to bring a level of maturity here. You've got to bring a level of wisdom here to be able to deal with all this stuff. But more so, when you're in the race, you've got to be able to sometimes resist the temptation to try and win that little battle, and you've got to think about winning the war. And when you actually have a look at the guys that win this race, I mean, it's pretty obvious. Yes, Nick Percat won last year, and he's probably the standout, but that was because there was a whole drama with rain and everything happening. But when you really look at the trend of who wins this race, look at the guys that win it. They're all actually champions. Look at all these names here. So that, for me, says it all, and I don't think anything's going to change today. This is a tough, tough race, and why it's so important, it sets the pillar or the foundation for the rest of the year. And if you don't get this one right, you make rounds 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 that much harder. So you need a good dose of that. Matty?
Well done, Larko. Incredible atmosphere out here. It's about 32 degrees at the moment, but in the skies above us, squadron leader Rob Graham is piloting the Hawk 127 out of 79 squadron at Pearce, which is just outside of Perth. So it probably took him about a couple of minutes to get here, but he's putting on a real show. One of the things that I've noticed with the drivers in pit lane, as you touched on, Larko, is that it's water bottles, water bottles, water bottles. Today is a tough day. 250Ks coming their way. The first race of the season for the Virgin Australia Supercars Championship. This is the Clipsal 500. Enjoy it as we hand you over to our series commentators, headed up by Mark Scaife and Neil Crompton.
Go.
In 2017, who's your favourite? Who's going to be the villain? What will be that moment? Who will push the limits? Who will push them too far?
Oh, no, they're all gone!
Where will the big story be? Who will win at the mountain? Who will take home the championship? Who knows? 14 different destinations, 6,320 kilometres of racing, and a pit lane ready to rumble.
That is an amazing move!
The Virgin Australia Supercars Championship. It's time to get your heart racing.
We are in South Australia, known for its festivals and events, world-famous wide regions, restaurants, bars and beaches, gourmet food and wine, and premium motorsport. We've got a great affinity in this town with motorsport. It dates back to 1985 with Formula One, and since 1999, supercars have dazzled us over the years at this location. Special show overhead at the moment as well, thanks to the Air Force and squadron leader Rob Graham from 79 Squadron has come across from RAAF Pearce, very close to Barbagallo Raceway in Western Australia, where we will be later in this championship season. It's good for 555 knots, that machine. And they also train on that machine at Williamtown, and we will be there later in the year at Newcastle. Flycam shows us precisely what our grid looks like. And this is what our track looks like this afternoon. Adelaide Parkland Circuit on the Virgin Australia Destination Board. Let's look at it in detail. It's 14 turns, 3.2 kilometres and a fantastic racetrack with all the characteristics that you want. There's opportunities to pass, there's bumps, there's big curbs, there's concrete walls. It requires serious commitment. There's 3 or 4 good opportunities to pass. It's complex up here between turns 4, 5, 6 and 7, and a momentary rest about 500 metres in a straight line, and the fast right-hander at turn 8. Minimum speed about 225 kilometres an hour. A premium requirement for braking performance into turn 9. And then this complex run through the back of the pit paddock area takes you to turn 14. Little rest again on the pit straight takes you down to the chicane into turn number 1. It's quite hard on brakes. It's reasonably hard on tyres. It is very hard on suspension. In these warm conditions that are expected to reach the low to medium 30s today, it's going to be very hard on drivers as well.
And Crompo, on that note, keeping cool on the grid is super important. So I'm with the 2012 Clipsal 500 champion, Will Davis, and this towel is soaked with water. How hot is this?
Well, it's going to be hot, Rusty. So trying to just pre-cool, sitting here in the sun now. Been in the ice bath already. That was set to 12 degrees. Just trying to keep the core temp down, as much as you can, because it's going to be a brutal 78 laps.
Okay, you're out of grid 17 today. You've been working with a new engineer in Campbell Little, and even as you rolled up to the grid here, you were working through some stuff on the steering wheel. Have you got a couple of little niggling complications, or? New engineer, new data engineer this year. So we've got some new stuff in the dash and some new programs, and it's a bit finicky getting all these systems working. So you have certain pages for the start and whatnot. So no, we had a niggling little issue that wasn't going to the right page that I need. So it shouldn't be a huge drama. They'll just have to plug the computer in and get on top of it. But yeah, usual stuff. Start of a long year and start of an exciting year for us. Woodstock's on the car. It looks awesome. Don't want to be off 17, but I don't plan on being here for long. Try and keep cool for now, mate, and have a great afternoon. Thank you.
Thanks, Rusty. Cheers.
Mark Winterbottom, we're about to head into the first race of season 2017, but you just look very cool, calm, collected, having a bit of fun with your son, your family here. Is that really how you're feeling?
Yeah, there's adrenaline and nerves and all that sort of stuff going on, but the best thing to keep you calm is what you normally do day to day. So Austin's having fun, drinking my water and squirting me with it and having a good time. But it's going to be hot out there. It's going to be a pretty hot race. But win, lose or draw, you give it your best shot. And as long as these little fellas are proud of you, it's all good.
You're starting from a very nice position for this first race of the season. Are you confident you've got good, solid race pace in the car, considering we're a little bit of an unknown with this tyre?
Yeah, it is. It's unknown. You'll see guys pit early, which will get a big gain if it pays off. But the risk is just knowing what that tyre's going to do. And once you pit early, you've used your safety buffer. So I'm not sure which way we'll take it. We'll fall into the race, see how we go. But I'm not sure about our race pace. We've just got to work it out. But who cares about race pace? My little boy's a good-looking little dude. He's on TV, so it's all good.
Thanks, Rusty. Good luck.
Cheers, Tom.
And in the off-season, Dale Woods made the shift down to Erebus Motorsport, mate. How's everything transitioning with you? And you and David Reynolds, how's that relationship working out? Two weirdos.
Yeah, two complete weirdos. That was never.
I mean that really nicely.
I don't. That was never going to be a problem, really. Dave and I get on well. We have for a long time, so I don't see that changing. He's a legend and a very fast peddler. So it's nice. I've done this before. I've changed teams, but found a place I'm really happy with at the moment. Betty creates a really nice environment and a very small, tight-knit group of people, and enjoying that. So just got to now knuckle down and get the results on the board and do a good job in the car, because they're really good cars. It's can tell that the potential's there. Just got to do the job in it.
Yeah, that's the thing. We've talked to many drivers. We've had a lot of changes in the off-season. You're one of those guys, and it's adapting to a different car, a different style, different way of doing things in a team. The differences between that, where you were in the Nissan in the Ultima to where you are now?
Yeah, absolutely. There's big differences. But, you say big differences. Fundamentally, they're all similar underneath. But this category is, the field is split by nothing. So it doesn't take much to just alter those things that you've got to change in your driving, and then just come to understand with a new car. But it'll be fine. It'll be good. I'm looking forward to it. It's a good place.
Get out there, mate. Have some fun.
Thanks very much.
Chaz Mostert, I'm not sure if I can take you quite seriously here, sitting very straight-faced, getting as much cool air as you possibly can.
Yeah, it's going to be a big race. It's first time 250s come back on a Saturday. we know how buggered we all feel on Sunday night after 250, so it's important now to take the preparations to give it our best shot today and obviously bounce back for tomorrow as well. So, yeah, definitely cooling off here. We're very lucky to have this cool aircon unit, plenty of fluids in and a bit of an ice bath after, hopefully, and we'll see how we pull up for tomorrow.
Just physically, have you completely recovered from your injury?
Yeah, physically fine in the car. So, yeah, the hardest thing in the car is just the temperature. It's simple as that. Not nothing to do with my leg or anything like that. So it's yeah, today is just about trying to cool off.
Thanks, Chaz. Wish you all the best.
Thank you.
So last year's Clipsal 500 champion standing here on grid 11, Nick Percat. Mate, car's looking fantastic. You look pretty good, and you ready for this?
I am. Those things are crazy. I'm loving every minute so far of joining BJR. For me, made a little mistake in qualifying, which cost us probably 3 or 4 rows, which happens. It's it's the first time in 2 years where I've had that, a little bit of pressure to be able to, it's up to the driver to make sure it's there, and it's refreshing, and I'm loving it. But so welcoming the whole crew, and to have Clipsal inside the car for this event, to farewell Clipsal 500, it's pretty special. As I've been to every single one of these, be it a spectator or driver, so really cool.
Good on you, mate. We'll have a great day out there and move the thing forward, eh?
I shall try. Thank you.
Ours is one of the most aspirational sports on the planet. How'd you like to be 16 years of age and jumping on the grid to contest a supercars race? You're about to launch Alex Rouleau into the championship for the first time. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm a little bit nervous, but obviously keen to get sightings. So it's a big challenge ahead, but yeah, ready to kickstart it here at Clipsal, and yeah, should be a good race.
I know your method, your plan for the week was to come into this, just no mistakes, just nail it, mate. I know you're at the back of the grid, but thus far you've stuck to the schedule, haven't you?
Yeah, we just want to get through the weekend, so yeah, only had a minor incident in practice, but it's just one of those things that happen. So yeah, hopefully we get through the race, and yeah, that's the plan, just to get to the end, no scratches, and yeah, I think the results will come later in the year, but yeah, still learning and still just trying to keep onto the back of these guys.
You're all set fitness-wise for this. You've got the cool suit, the cool vest on at the moment. 250 grueling Ks around here to come, and there's just no break, is there?
Yeah, there's no break here at Clipsal. You haven't got a long straight like at Bathurst, where I did a 250k race last year, so and obviously the heat as well, so it'll be a tough one, but yeah, I think looking forward to the challenge, and yeah, rough intro.
Lots of young fans would be envious, mate. Go and enjoy.
Cheers.
Back in the Hino Hub again for 2017 for the Virgin Australia Supercars Championship to analyse the race that's coming up. Let's first of all have a look at some of our facts here and do something of a history lesson. We've been coming to this place with supercars since back in 1999. Next year's going to be a big party, our 20th year here in Adelaide. Remember, Formula 1 dates back to 1985. More wins for Jamie Whincup, 4 Clipsal 500 overall victories and 10 race wins. Incredible run, and he's finished 100% of all the races. He won here last year, our 2016 winners. Amazing that he's been able to achieve that. We've had a whole variety of people that have stood on the top step here. Remember, last year was 3 races. This year we've got a 2-race format. So our race facts: 250 clicks, 78 laps. Our brand new fuel used around about 215 litres. Our fuel drop, however, which requires that we actually drop this fuel into the car by rules, is a problem because it doesn't fit. You've got a 110 litre usable fuel tank in these cars, and of course those figures don't go together, so you've got to stop at least twice, maybe 3 times, using around about 2 3/4 litres per lap, sometimes around about 2.8. It varies from car to car, team to team, driver to driver. Therefore, our starting fuel is around about 75 litres, so about 3/4 of a tank or thereabouts. It'll give you a fuel range of 40-odd laps, and it's shorter to begin with because you've got to get the cars out onto the grid. Critical lap, this is where you fuel the car up to get you home. We'll talk a lot about this. It's lap number 38. So our considerations: it's been stinking hot all week, particularly in the early part of the week, and that takes its toll on physical fitness. The drivers will feel it. Doesn't matter how much you train, and they've been working hard on this for the last 90-odd days, being in the car is totally different. They will feel the pain today. This will be a factor. We've got brand new tyres in 2017. We don't entirely know and understand the characteristics of the tyre. We'll keep an eye on that one. Bit of a question mark. You're always going to see the safety car here. You can just about set the clock by it. Very high prob, 83%, and you've got to watch double stacking. It's a given. Another thing just to keep in mind is going back to that 3-stop comment that I made before, and I'll talk a bit about that now as we understand fuel. So first of all, these are litres and these are laps. Let's look at our red strategy. So starting with 75, and at the first available opportunity, jumping in here, chucking some fuel in, and a long run to the critical lap. Long run, tyres, you're going to have to watch that very carefully. Gas her up again, fill it to the end, and home you go. This is one that I don't think we're going to see a lot of. This is the standard strategy, so I'm not going to waste a lot of breath on this. Let's talk about the even tyre strategy, because it's really red and green that matters. 75 litres, run it out to about lap 26, bring it back to around about that 75 litre mark, run it to 52 and down to the end. Now, just keep in the back of your mind, and I'll go back to red to show it, somebody, depending on safety car intervention, might try a three-stopper, because they've got to drop their 140 litres. They've got a bit of flexibility today with what they do to fuel. Keep an eye on it. But one way or another, I can promise you this is going to be a scorcher. Buckle up and enjoy. Awesome shot from the Red Rooster chopper cam from right above the starting grid. 26 cars, 25 gentlemen, one lady out there. What a star-studded field.
It was 2004, Eastern Creek, the last time that Garth Tander raced for the Gary Rogers Motorsport team. You're back in their colours and in their car again for season 2017. How are you feeling?
Yeah, looking forward to it, Rusty. Certainly didn't qualify where we would like to, but the amount of work this team's done just to get the cars here ready for this weekend is huge. So probably as good as we could have done qualifying yesterday. We'll try and go forward in the race today.
All right, what's the play? 250 Ks to come with all that stuff you've just detailed. How are you going to tackle it?
Try not to melt.
Thank you.
Mate, JC, James Courtney sitting there third on the grid. Pretty good effort in the shootout, mate. What's your thoughts on how this car is going to take those long stints now? No one really knows.
Yeah, that's right, Murph. No one really knows. In the shootout, I was probably a little too relaxed. I didn't really attack. I just wanted a good clean lap, good starting position. So at least with us in this position, we can react to the other guys with what they're doing with strategy. So look, I think it's going to be great. It's going to be interesting. And it's going to be, if there's a first lap safety car, it could be a long afternoon.
If there's anything like last year, mate, it will be interesting. Good luck.
Cheers, guys.
Mark, I made the point that the temperature and the physicality of what's going to happen today is a big deal.
It's massive, and for the first event of the year, we've spoken about fitness, but in reality, fitness is all about match fitness in the car today, Neil. This is going to be very tough.
Beautiful scenes looking down from above, and I want to take you back to last year, Scapey, because James Courtney absolutely thrilled us on Saturday in that battle with Jamie Whincup. Today, he's our GoPro Hot Lap pilot. He takes us for a blast in the Mobile HSV Racing Commodore.
Oh, g'day everyone at home. You're on board the 22 with JC. Clipsal, best race of the year for me, and you're on board with me for the GoPro Lap. Amazing place. To get here, the atmosphere is crazy. Up into one, down one gear. So easy to lock the front, bit like I just did there. Use too much curb. Car gets pretty lively through there, trying to keep it flat. Up into four, hard on the brakes. Back to second. Up and over the curb. Trying to get that 680 horsepower to the ground here. It's pretty tough. She wants to get a bit tail happy. Up through five, into six. Important seven right here is to get the nose in and get the thing rotated enough to get hard on the gas. Coming up to one of the craziest corners in Australian motorsport here. I think it's actually the highest minimum speed. Turn 8, 120k, 220 Ks, and you're off and back on it. It's out to the wall, crazy. A lot of passing down into 9 in the race here. Some guys use first. I use second, looks after the tyre a little better, I think. Up around through 9, 10, 11 and 12 here. Easy out. Whoop. May have kissed the wall a little. Really important second last corner. Setting yourself up for a lunge on the last lap if you have to. Get the nose in again. All that power down. Best moment of the year, coming over the line here when you've won. I've managed to do it a couple of times. Let's hope we do it again this year. Thanks, everyone.
Great to be a backseat driver there with James Courtney, and gives you an understanding of how busy this racetrack is. There is absolutely no time to rest. And that's the fly cam view, thanks to South Australia, our host this weekend, of what our starting grid looks like. 26 cars. High level of intensity through qualifying yesterday, where the cars were separated at the top end of town by 1/10,000th of a second, and then an awesome shootout today. And it's set up what I think is going to be a big battle for 2017 between the Red Bull Volta Racing team and Shell Helix Racing. Our Triple M starting grid for 2017. Let's have a look at the way in which they will line up, and this is a great lineup. Van Gisbergen versus Coulthard. Awesome performance. Mostert and Courtney. We just did a lap with James. He'll start on row number 2. Then it's Winterbottom and McLaughlin, cars 5 and 17. Scotty didn't quite get that lap right in the shootout. Then Whincup and Kelly, 88 and 15 alongside each other. Cam Waters did a nice job in the shootout together with David Reynolds in the Penrite entry. Nick Percat, last year's Clipsal 500 champion, with Tim Slade alongside him, both Adelaide boys. Then Craig Lowndes and Michael Caruso, 888 and car 23. Big news story handed to the Holden team of Gary Rogers together with Todd Kelly. Then it's Will Davison and Scotty Pye. Looking further back to row number 10, James Moffat and Lee Holdsworth, positions 19 and 20. Out of 21 and 22, Dale Wood and Jason Bright, both those drivers have been on the move in the new season. Tim Blanchard stays with Team Cool Drive and Brad Jones. Simona Di Silvestro lines up for a 3rd supercar race, and then Taz Douglas, I beg your pardon, drafted in at the last moment with Lucas Dumbrell, together with Alex Rulo, who will now start a supercar race as the youngest ever driver in the history of the competition.
And I've never seen Shane Van Gisbergen so animated after that top 10 shootout. It was a superb lap. Conversely, Scotty McLaughlin lost 0.6 of a second in the final sector. That damaged his qualifying performance. And to Rick Kelly, and he's been fast all weekend. Very, very good to see those Altimas showing real potential on the new tyre especially. And Fabian Coulthard, I reckon starting off the front row on the left-hand side is actually an advantage into turn 1. He's on the inside for the first corner.
Yeah, there's something about having a tonne and a half on your side when you run down to that side of the racetrack, left-hand turn at turn 1. And remember that McLaughlin's just down the order slightly. We saw him very close to Van Gisbergen earlier in the weekend, so he's got a quick car, so we need to watch him trying to thread here as well. All of the surroundings and the off-track activation here has been fantastic all week. Let's get to Rusty to build this up.
Crompo, I was lucky enough to be here for the first ever Clipsal 500 in 1999. The atmosphere was phenomenal. That year, Craig Lowndes won from the back of the grid and the place erupted, and it's going to go off again today. The very best drivers in the world, some of the best engineering excellence, and as far as fans are concerned, the most passionate. What do you reckon? Who's excited about the championship? Let's get the championship underway.
The 2017 Virgin Australia Supercars Championship will be travelling throughout Australia, north, south, east and west, every state and to the Northern Territory. Plus we journey across the Tasman to New Zealand. Last year 11 different winners and the promise of another tight, tough season. The supercar heavyweights are back. 6,320 racing kilometres this season. And it's time now for the first 250-kilometre instalment, Adelaide style. Cars coming into position. What's in store? There will be tears. There will be cheers. Get ready for 9 months of hardcore supercars action. How does it work out? They leap across the curb, cars every which way.
That was out of control. Courtney got the best jump of the first 3 cars. Fabian Coulthard almost stalled, and Mark Winterbottom and Chaz Mostert made contact in the run down to turn 1. That was wild. And Van Gisbergen, a big braking manoeuvre to hold the lead, because he probably should have been passed on the inside by Fabian. So 3 abreast on the way in there. Whincup, after his worst qualifying for 888 Clipsal 500, and Fabian's got him. Great move.
That was well planned and executed, and he's got right of way here. There's an agreement between the drivers based on the briefing notes on how they deal with turn 8 when they run down there side by side. Coulthard, cool move.
That was a nice manoeuvre.
There's trouble at the back of the pack, big trouble. And I think it's Will Davison in the Woodstock entry. He's made contact down there, heavy contact, and that car's got big damage. So we were focused on the leaders. Here's Will. What a disappointing start. It's a margin now in favour of Coulthard. So an awkward run out of turn 7 for Van Gisbergen, who rotated on that corner yesterday. And we've got Whincup in the pit lane. So think of the red strategy in the Hino hub. They're dumping the first load of fuel for Whincup because he didn't qualify well. He doesn't have track position. They're playing a strategy game.
Okay, mate, we've got you. This will be a really quick stop, fuel only. On the mark for us, please. Thank you.
This will clear him from traffic.
Pit lane is still clear.
Track position is king around the streets of Adelaide.
Still clear, mate.
And Coulthard's bolted.
Fuel only. Clear to go. Clear to go.
Almost a second clear now of Van Gisbergen. So that was a very healthy manoeuvre coming out of turn 7. Great run up to turn 8. Proper respect between the two Kiwis on the way into turn 8, following those guidelines.
Isn't it wonderful to soak that up? Those supercars through turn 8, and there's the stricken Commodore of Will Davison making it into the lane with the damage in the front left corner of that car. I was looking at the other end of the field, but I presume that's contact with the wall at turn 8. So this is a crazy margin. 1.5 seconds, Fabian over Shane at the moment. Ford versus Holden. Whincup is the first to take an early stop. So they've dumped their fuel. As you pointed out, Mark, that now gives him cleared track. He'll make a good gain out of the fact that he doesn't have to race others. Curb cam, and now let's have a look at the replay at the start. The conversion for Van Gisbergen was excellent. The car sat, squatted and bolted. Courtney made a blinder but ended up on the wrong side of the road, had to surf across the top of the curb. There was a lot of jostling going on here. Now let's ride with Mostert, and Coulthard had to have a second snap at the clutch. And look at Courtney, who went to go all the way around the outside. Frosty moves up a spot there as well. James just leaps straight across the top of the curbs and then slides out the other side. So Courtney recognised the slow launch by Coulthard and then had to go the long way.
And then when he got here, he didn't have anywhere to go, did he?
And the danger here is that you can break the car. Got away with it. Reynolds had to do the same in the Penrite entry. Now this is the explanation as to what happened with Will. So he's gone in very hard there at turn 8 on in relative terms, a cold tyre. May have also had a helping hand there. There'll be more to the story, no doubt. More replays down here. Oh yeah, it was more to the story, all right. So it was Todd Kelly and Will Davison. I didn't catch the other car, but that was 3 wide into turn 8. So that's not part of the Queensbury rules.
I think it's Moffat. I think it was Moffat. So we just said about the way that Fabian Coulthard and Shane Van Gisbergen approached turn 8, but there were 3 guys involved in that.
Didn't see the inside car, but I think Todd Kelly was the middle car, Rihanna.
Will Davison, I think you just had a chance to see the replay. Looked pretty nasty heading into turn 8.
Yeah, I know what happened. So, yeah, I didn't know someone was next to Todd. I was just next to Todd, knowing I was just about to back out and give him right away into turn 8. I'm on the far left there, and next thing his car's just come across the front of me, and I noticed he had someone squeezing him on the inside of him. So I was just about to tuck him behind Todd, and yeah, 3 wide into 8, not ideal. So anyway.
Tough way to start the season with a new sponsor on board. We'll see you out there tomorrow.
Absolutely, cheers.
All that build-up, I think, yeah, all that build-up in the last 90 days, all that hard work, a new sponsor, all the training, and all of a sudden it's over and out. Inside 1 racing lap in the first race of the year, but there are many more to come. But yeah, awkward situation. Racing incident when you got 3 wide in a situation battling for turn 8. There's going to be a loser. Fortunately today it was Will Davison. 1.5 seconds is the steady margin between Coulthard and Van Gisbergen as they head off on lap 5. He's got a good margin. He built it up on cold tyres. So he made the move at turn 7, was in a great position on the run to turn 8 on lap 1. And then really over the next half a lap was where he put most of that margin on Shane. And now it's steady as Van Gisbergen's tyre pressures and temperatures have come up and normalised as well. So there'll be very substantial differences, no doubt, between the way in which the cars are set up, and each team's got its own individual ideas as to how they run their cold starting pressures. But for Coulthard, the car converted to immediate pace, straight off the bat. Other than the bobbled start, the rest of it looked great.
Exactly, and I think the other part that we'll keep a real eye on is James Courtney's pace, because Courtney was right up in behind Van Gisbergen and was actually starting to have a look for a way by. So was McLaughlin on Winterbottom. So when this race just settles down a little bit, we'll get a much better guide as to what that looks like. Now, there's a post-race investigation, car 15 and 19 at turn 8. I guess the wrong...
I think the numbers are wrong there because it was car 7.
Yeah.
We're not 100% sure of the inside car because there were 3.
But I think exactly, it's not 2 cars, and they got one of those cars wrong.
Yeah, the race control's just corrected that. It's now become car 7, so that's been picked up. So car 7 and car 19. But there's more to come on that one.
Hey guys, I just quickly grabbed Mark Dutton. Looking at what happened here, you brought Jamie Whincup in based on thinking that that was going to cause a safety car. Will Davison on the wall?
Yeah, it was a possibility. We thought it was a bit of a long shot, but also the risk of queuing is such a heavy penalty. We've rolled the dice a little bit. We don't know what the deg is like on these tyres. We think it'll be pretty good, hence why we're confident Jamie will be able to do it, but time will tell. Thanks, bud. Cheers.
So they put about 37 litres of fuel in Jamie's car in that stop, taking advantage of now some clear track. So we'll monitor his lap speed, and his last lap was 1 minute 21.8. His best lap so far has been a 1:21.6. Peak speed in the race so far is a 21.2 by comparison. That's Fabian Coulthard's got the fastest lap of the race on the last lap. But the fresh air will probably serve Whincup well out there at the moment. So we'll just keep a bit of an eye on him. He's 25th at the moment, effectively last because Will Davison is back in the pit lane.
Remembering that he will have absolutely full tanks now versus the rest that wouldn't have started with full tanks.
Yeah, so he's got 80 odd litres, 80 odd kilos, I beg your pardon. So here we go, we've got McLaughlin in now as well.
A little bit long there, mate. Should be good. Right, he's coming down the pit lane now. He can be pulling here, but we should be all right. So he's just coming alongside of the Percat garage now.
Interesting on lap 7 to change
tyres.
Bang!
Go. Thanks, mate.
That was so close to hitting the mega Falcon of Jason Bright.
So this is a Pro Drive car. Mega Volt fuel support for Jason Bright, who's moved after many years with Brad Jones Racing into the squad that he had success with back in the mid-2000s. Clean departure for him. So fastest lap of the race now, Van Gisbergen. And that's how close it was on departure for McLaughlin versus Bright. Not much in it. Chopper Cam showed us the story there. So 21.08 for Van Gisbergen on the last lap, and this is the angle from the front of the cars. Luckily for both drivers, no contact there. Turn 11, back to live pictures now on lap 7 of 78. We're looking at the Erebus Motorsport Penrite entry of David Reynolds. I mentioned in the walk-around pre-race that it's a brand new car. David's really happy and comfortable within that race team at the moment. He's doing a good job. Currently sitting in 7th position. Lap speed is good. Average pace across the top 10's about a mid-21 at the moment, and he's well in that pace. He's got Cam Waters right behind him, who's got off to a really strong start. 3 of the Pro Drive cars in the top 10 shootout.
Dave Reynolds is one of the real winners of those opening laps. He's up 3 positions. Craig Lowndes fans, he's up 4 positions. So this is a pretty healthy battle here with Lowndes putting pressure on Cam Waters on lap 8.
Great shot in the run into turn 1, and things have tightened up nicely as Garth Tander peels off and takes a stop between Coulthard and Van Gisbergen, and just out of frame at the moment is James Courtney. So the Shell V-Power Racing Ford of Fabian Coulthard, amazing pace on the opening lap. At one stage got to a 1.5 seconds out in the lead, and slowly but surely that's evaporated. Our theory is higher cold tyre starting pressures for Coulthard, or it might be a balance issue, and Scott Pye in car 2, Mobil 1 HSV Racing. So you've got Tander in there as well, and rounding up his old position and car number 2. Be hard when you've spent that many years driving into what was once a Holden Racing team picked for Tander, seriously, actually driving into the GRM box
would do your head in for the first few races, no doubt, especially because they're so close to each other. So this is an intriguing battle because Coulthard, who was very aggressive on the opening lap, made a nice move up the inside at turn 8. As Neil said, got away to 1.5 second lead, and that has evaporated.
No, I'm not next.
James Courtney's not too far away in that battle because he actually looked quite strong against Van Gisbergen early also, so maybe they have been a little bit conservative with those start pressures, given this is the first time that we've run on these tyres. And this is Whincup and Scott McLaughlin together, so they're firing along. They've obviously filled those cars up, and both of them won't want to be having a race because they actually want clear track.
Looks on the computer timing at the moment as though McLaughlin's got a bit more pace than McLaughlin. The other fella that's quick.
Doing a great job. Think of your bars.
Ludo talking about anti-roll bars in the Falcon. Also quick out there at the moment is Tim Slade, the Freightliner entry. Remember, he just stopped a moment ago. They've got fresh rubber on the car, and he's done some very fancy sector splits.
Just walked into DJR Team Penske and spoke to Ryan Story about Fabian Coulthard. Now, we use acronyms sometimes in this game. He is complaining of IFL, inside front locking, and that is why we now have this close battle that you're watching between Coulthard and Van Gisbergen. They are contemplating what to do next. Are they going to change up the strategy in here to cope with that?
Well, adjusting the cars, playing with them on the run during the day is a big part of the game, and having enough adjustability in the anti-roll bars front and rear in the car is a big part of the story.
Just review red 5. I think you should check blue. Yep, sorry, blue. Blue 4 is correct. Blue 4 is correct.
So Phil Keed giving Fabian anti-roll bar positions front and rear, blue and red. He got fumbled in the delivery of it, which meant that for Fabian, he had to listen to the message on the braking area as Cam Waters comes in as well. And it's always hard when someone's talking to you and you're trying to actually pick your line, find your braking reference, and you've got Van Gisbergen all over you. And he absolutely plays for keeps.
100%. In fact, Phil should have stopped speaking, given he could see the car on the monitor, and let him run into turn 1, put it off for half a lap, let him give him the advice up here.
Now, see Van Gisbergen try to get a gulp of cleaner air there for a moment with the Red Bull Holden Racing Team car, and Courtney's in a good spot here at the moment. If he gets much closer, he starts to swallow all the hot air. Hurts the brakes, hurts the engine performance. It hurts him. You can feel it in the cabin. So just the watching brief for James Courtney, twice Clipsal 500 champion, is a good ploy at the moment. He's close, but he doesn't need to be too close that he actually gets a heap of aero wash.
Interesting, just then when we had that great Red Roosters chopper shot from 7 to 8, it looked like Fabian's straight line speed was much better than Van Gisbergen's. Check this out.
Very noticeable differences in mid-corner speed between both of them, particularly in the slow corners. It's about 65 kilometres an hour at turn 14, the hairpin. Watch Van Gisbergen here. He's had a good run through the centre chicane, and he's got right on him now in the braking area at turn 4. What you don't see from that shot of the bumps, he's now beginning to think about a positional challenge. He's wide of him at turn 4, so he's starting to search high and low for some air at the moment, Van Gisbergen. It's going to be on here. Remember, the pass was made previously the other way around on the run between 7 and 8. This is 7. Right there is where Van Gisbergen turned that car yesterday. They both straddle the exit curb. Good grunt. Good grunt, car 17. Straight line speed's impressive.
It'll take some beating. I wouldn't want to lose 3 or 4 car lengths in that little run. Huh?
No. We were doing hand signals up here. You were like, wow. And there's a lot of hot air going back into car 97 here as well. Both groups inside Red Bull Holden Racing Team and Shell V-Power Racing. Big chance that this is going to be on for the balance of the year, and do not discount the car behind. James Courtney, Nova 1 HSV Racing. Those guys have been working hard to try and find the deficiencies that they've had at certain tracks. This has not been one of them. They've always been strong here, and Courtney's shown that, and he's showing it again this weekend.
Who could forget that epic battle with Courtney and Whincup here last year, one of the best races we've ever seen. And for whatever reason, the people at what was Holden Racing Team have always had good cars on these styles of tracks. Homebush, Townsville, Adelaide, Gold Coast.
just going to stay with James for a minute. I want to watch the wheel work and everything in all the left and right hand, the second gear stuff, very little in the way of having to shift the hand position on the wheel. So he's able to just turn the car, put it where he wants. And Van Gisbergen again gulping some fresh air on the run to turn 8. So James not having to play a lot with the steering wheel. He's not having to stab at it. So he's just rolling it in, touching his apexes. There he is. He finds the apex and then just peels the lock off. That's a stable car. And look that way up through Wakefield Street, East Terrace, and all that end of the track in second gear as well.
And what you don't want, and why you're making the point, what you don't want is a nervous car. So you often see when you've turned the wheel, there's a left-hand rear tyre deflated there for Todd. Be careful here, mate. Just gets around turn 8, good job. But it's one, we saw Jamie Whincup have a massive moment there a few years ago also with a left-hand rear tyre flat. But what you always see, Mostert off the road there at turn 14, he's run wide in the braking area. But what you want to see when you've turned the wheel is not to come off so fast, because then you know they're twitchy. And that was pretty insightful stuff in terms of technique there from Courtney and how nice the car is. If they're twitchy, they're hard to drive, easy to make a mistake, and very hard on the tyres.
So Mostert's had that moment, the final corner, and a bunch have now stepped up in front of him, including Rick Kelly, David Reynolds, Craig Lowndes. Lowndes up to 7th. Again, Van Gisbergen just searching to get some fresh air in that car. They'll be watching water temperature in that engine pretty carefully. That was a moment. And he has a look at him now, Van Gisbergen. He sensed the slide. Hit him. Oh, he's given him a little touch. He's just given him a little rough up. That's a hello and welcome to 2017 right there. Turn 11. So when you give Van Gisbergen even a tiny percentage of incentive, he's going to be all on you. So he's just starting to have a little bit of a battle, and Rusty described before the considerations inside the garage at Shell V-Power Racing.
Good job, mate. Nice, smart driving, please.
And that's Grant McPherson just passing on what Roland Dane will be passing on to him, which is nice, clean driving, please. In other words, we don't need a penalty early in the race. That certainly was nothing that would have raised any eyebrows, but it's good to try and stay in authority with the driver. Make sure that the driver's thinking about what has to happen. There's a long, long, long way to go. He's on him, Scapey.
And Fabian's got inside front wheel locking drama going. He locked the left front of the 11 on the last lap. He locked the right front there at Wakefield into turn 4. Now check this out. Check the straight line speed. See, that Falcon's got good straight line speed. That will take some beating through the course of the day. And what it means is you've got to try so hard here to get through 8 to put yourself in a passing spot. So the proximity of the car, you need to be 2 or 3 car lengths further up the road, closer to Fabian to make that move stick.
I wonder whether Red Bull have gone for a leaner air-fuel ratio for mileage. They're going to bring Coulthard in. So we've already seen McLaughlin in, so they're going to get him out of this position before it actually goes pear-shaped, and here we go. So that's new leader Shane Van Gisbergen, and James Courtney follows. So look for an adjustment on car 12 here.
4 times, a bit of a tweak up there, so we're here for about 21 seconds, so come across here and now, mate. I need to neutral in the box, please. Neutral in the box.
See what they can do to ride heights to try and get some load on the front.
4 tires, drink your juice, and we'll tweak up that right rear for you. Nothing to pit, mate, at the minute, mate. We're all good. Last of the wheels are going on now, so all the wheels are done. We're just waiting on the fuel. All clear, all clear. All clear, one.
I didn't see anything. No. Oh! So James does the right thing there. He just doesn't push it to the brink.
Hey, fellas, I can confirm you, we probably didn't see it was done on the right-hand side of the car. There was a rear ride height adjustment, so you're spot on, Cromley. They did make the change to car 12.
Okay, thanks, Murph. And they've only done it, that's the cross weights they've played with. So they've only done it in one corner of the car. Look at this. Whincup. And quite a few people on the radio now talking about coming in.
17 laps old, mate. Whincup's price is 17 laps old. You should be on the hold and just step up the pace.
So James Courtney being informed about Jamie Whincup's position and the tyre age. Van Gisbergen's the leader, 3.5 seconds over Winterbottom, and then Rick Kelly. So it's Holden, Ford, Nissan, 1, 2 and 3. David Reynolds in position 4. Great drive. Craig Lowndes up to 5th. Then Percat, Mostert, Moffat, Holdsworth and Caruso. More problems here for Mostert. Second time he's been off. Remember, he had a problem at the final corner. So what's happening with Chaz Mostert? Not having a comfortable run out there at the moment. Percat's in, Holdsworth's in. There's a lot going on.
He just came into the pit stop. They didn't make any changes to that car, so he's got a real problem just with the setup. He's uncomfortable with the way the car is handling at the moment, and it's causing him to make a few mistakes. On the other thing with one of those pit stops before, we saw James Courtney, Fabian Coulthard come in, and the team at Mobil 1 HSB Racing tried to undercut Coulthard. They put 6 litres less in that car than what Coulthard did, but it was unable to happen, so they missed the opportunity there.
The last couple of minutes have been pretty intense, haven't they? With Tim Slade up in the tyre wall there. You can see the damage on the front left corner of the Freightliner car. Thanks for the update, Greg.
But I don't know why they've now sent the real insurance safety car out, because it's all clear, isn't it?
And this is the reason why. Nick Percat down the inside of Tim Slade. He was a long way up there. But that's going to be an awkward discussion back in that garage post-race and next week. And this rejoin, when Greg was doing his report, I saw it in Helmer Brethren. They were screaming at James Moffat about just dropping in the queue here, and he did it beautifully. And Chaz Mostert's had 1 or 2 dramas. He nearly drilled the back of his teammate Mark Winterbottom there at the final corner. That was why he dropped all those spots, and then there was more trauma for him down here at 11. That's a whisker away from being in the kitty litter and stuck. So Super Cheap Auto Racer is having a tough afternoon at the moment. And here's the replay from onboard, and it's just pinched the ears. He may have caught a bit of curb with that one. So 2 wild moments for him down there.
Remember, Mostert, here's another, that's a big slide by Van Gisbergen, and we called it when he was right in behind Fabian. And one of the issues is because he's losing so much ground between turn 7 and 8, that's why the safety car's out.
I saw some bits hanging off Slade's car as he came back onto the racetrack, so I figured that might have been the case.
Right. There's Alex Rouleau, who's now 22 laps into 78. Be a nice little break for him, actually. So I think Van Gisbergen, one of the issues that he's going to have is when you lose that much ground in a straight line, you've got to try so hard through turn 8 to get yourself into a position to pass at turn 9. And that was a monster moment. He had a big slide. He only just gathered it up before he hit the fence on the outside. So now the safety car, real insurance safety car lights are out on the Porsche Cayenne. And Fabian Coulthard now has control of the field. Right in behind there. It's a good move by James Courtney to dive in when he did. So Coulthard, Courtney, Whincup, they played him in, but remember he's on old tyres. Van Gisbergen, McLaughlin, also with that early stop. Winterbottom, Waters, Kelly, Percat, Lowndes, Tander.
Scapey, I'm just whirring through a few numbers here, and Van Gisbergen, though he doesn't have track position, in 4th at the moment.
Safety car in pit lane.
He does have decent numbers to play with in the refuel, so he's got about 4 seconds of fuel in hand over those that are at the top of this chart at the moment. So they've invested a little bit in the first stop, and they're looking for the dividend now in the back end of the race in the final stop to home. So just keep that in the back of your mind.
Take a look for James Courtney to have an early dive, because the thing about this now is you've got to make hay. He's got to have a dive at Fabian. Now Fabian may have also chosen to change those tyre pressures after the first run. They will have learnt from the first run, remembering everybody on the new tyre. There's James Courtney right up in behind on the way into turn 4. Whincup Van Gisbergen, that's a great shot. Shows those bumps and the way that the cars use all the road off Wakefield Street. Now onto the back straight. This is the run that I was saying before. Fabian's got great speed in this short shoot up to turn 8. Look at the gap he's got there. He's even got gap on the HRT car. So if you're doing engine comparisons, definitely DJR Team Penske. I love that rear shot through turn 8. It's cool, isn't it? It is unbelievable. But if you look at that engine comparison, they look like they've got healthy engine performance at this point of the year.
So when we get right near the critical lap for the fuel up to home, notwithstanding that we could end up with a safety car, Van Gisbergen needs to put on 79 to 80 litres of fuel. Coulthard, 92 litres. Courtney, 94 litres. Whincup, 103 litres, just to put it in perspective.
James Courtney on that lap has done the fastest lap of the race at 20.97. It's 0.4 behind Fabian Coulthard. Jamie Whincup and Van Gisbergen line astern. Mostert having a little last-minute lunge there at Michael Caruso and chose just to tuck the nose in and not go on with it.
Sorry, Mark, I didn't mean to step on you there before, but a couple of guys just to also keep an eye on from the strategy standpoint. Not quite the peak speed of the absolute leaders, but well in this game at the moment, include James Moffat and David Reynolds. They put a stack of fuel on, and that helps their cause now in this final stop. So those factors for sure.
Simona Di Silvestro is currently 20th. She's done a really good job through the course of the weekend. Very difficult assignment, not having driven touring cars or tin tops, not having driven on the streets of Adelaide. This is one of the wildest racetracks anywhere in the world. Big slide for Simona on the way out of turn 11. But she's approached this very well. And after today's 250 Ks, it will be a very worthwhile experience for her physically and mentally, getting to grips with these cars and understanding some of the other drivers and the way they go about the business. Rihanna?
Guys, I just want to quickly see if I can jump in with Brad Jones. I know you're so busy, but we just want to get your opinion and thoughts. It's always awkward when the teammates have a little nudge together.
Yeah, but it's a pretty easy one. I didn't really see it. I was so busy running around when we were organising Timmy to come in that I don't have an opinion on it yet. I mean, look, it's never comfortable when teammates get together, and we talked about it before the start of the race. It's Nick's first race with the team, but, you know, it's racing and this sort of stuff happens, so we'll sort that after the race.
Thanks, Brad.
No worries.
Philosophical view, and we were watching Van Gisbergen get down the inside of Whincup there. He did it nicely too. He just tucked in, and Jamie just came out and slotted straight in behind. There we are at Red Bull Holden Racing Team. Grant McPherson on the left, Mark Dutton, David Couchy closest to camera. No breach, by the way, off the back of Brad's comments there from race control. The incident between cars 14 and 8 at turn 6. No breach of the rules found. Craig Baird is the driving standards advisor for 2017. Deputy race director is Michael Massey. Race director is Tim Schenken. And there's a concerted effort to embrace the notion of play on in the rules, so only resorting to penalties when it's absolutely required. So a little bit of brake blocking going on here in this intense battle between Coulthard and Courtney. Van Gisbergen moves up a spot, as you saw a moment ago. Fabian using a lot of curb there at turn 5, really having to throw the car, which kind of suggests it's not turning to his liking. The more curb you use, generally a giveaway that you've actually got to find another way to get the performance in the car. Go on, explain your hand signals. I'm the only person that can see them, Scopey.
As the gap, that engine performance is really impressive. That's just something for nothing. You've got to try pretty hard at turn 8 to make that up. Good luck.
Well, making up that kind of gap, you might accidentally jump into the next postcode at turn 8. You just want to be careful of that one. This is turn 11. This has been a bit of a trap for a number of drivers. Coulthard's really having to monster those curbs at the moment. Again, up and over, hard, aggressive. McLaughlin's not far out of the picture here either, in 5th position. At the moment, we've got 5 seconds covering the top 9 cars, Percat being the 9th car. This is the lock-up that I made reference to a moment ago on the run into turn 1, and so that's Coulthard. And that kind of reconfirms what I thought, that just having a battle getting that car to change direction. That's the reason why he's hooking it up on the curb a little bit more. It is Coulthard, Courtney, Van Gisbergen. Courtney's done the fastest lap of the race, then Whincup, McLaughlin, Winterbottom, Waters and Rick Kelly.
Great shot here with the Red Rooster chopper showing us the run up to turn 8. And 245k approach speed, 225 mid-corner speed. Fabian Coulthard continues to lead from James Courtney. Courtney hasn't lost any ground. He's still 0.3, 0.4 behind. As you said before, Neil, he's on the fastest lap of the race. It's got a really nice flow going between Fabian and James Courtney. Just in behind is Shane Van Gisbergen.
Thought I'd try and talk to Dr. Ryan Story at Shell V Power Racing, given that car 17 may be under investigation for a potential breach of safety car procedure. Ryan, can I talk to you? Firstly, how do you feel about that for Scotty McLaughlin?
Well, not ideal. We'll wait and see how it plays out.
Right, can you tell us what the potential breach is? What did he perhaps do wrong?
Oh, I think it was in regards to moving after not meant to be moving. So.
Restart procedure, sorry. Yes. And quick report cut on Fabian Coulthard too. We know he's had some inside front locking issues, and the boys in commentary have talked about him pushing, battling. Okay. We're getting pit lane penalty. That's the message from Ben Croak there now to Ryan Story. So that is happening. We'll get out of here.
We've got the rifle for procedure. Please pass through the night.
Yeah, so we're just hounding up this one at the moment, just letting it play out. So safety car restart procedure. PLP, pit lane drive-through penalty for car number 17 for Scott McLaughlin. And I reckon it's for weaving after the safety car lights went out. So let's have a look at it in replay, see if we can understand it. We're looking for the car that's 5th in the queue. And it's in the Shell colours, car number 17, Scott McLaughlin. So the safety car's long gone. His teammate Fabian Coulthard has control of the field.
He didn't weave then. Must have been before that.
Been earlier, yeah.
And what happens in that circumstance is one of the guys around, it would have been Mark Winterbottom or one of the other guys, have reported it in.
Look forward,
Character building day one at the office for Scott McLaughlin, having served the drive-through penalty for Shell V Power Racing. Dr. Ryan Story in the garage at Dick Johnson Racing Team Penske. And that puts him well down the order now, down in 24th position as a result of that. That's how harsh the drive through the lane is. So it must have been pretty obvious, and it's been spotted by someone somewhere for that to be meted out. We didn't see it on that replay.
So 19 positions for McLaughlin. McLeod's now down the inside of Percat. Percat turns in. So that was an interesting move. He was almost up there far enough. Dave Reynolds right in behind. This is the battle for 8th, 9th and 10th.
Now start to get your thoughts around the critical lap. We'll get a bit of an understanding as to not only engine performance, but also economy now as well. And who blinks and who has to come in and whether they're on top of each other. And on our numbers at the moment, Van Gisbergen is in a very good position. He took more fuel in the first stop. Takes less litrage now in the second stop. And I'll remind you of the numbers that I rattled out there before as we watch Lowndes, who's got the chase going with Nick Percat. So Van Gisbergen 79 to 80 litres. Coulthard 92 litres. So I just want to have a look at this weaving, this alleged weaving. And yeah, okay. Yeah. There it is. So, and lights are out up there. Yeah.
99, excessive curve use left turn 2.
Righto. So lights are out on the safety car, so that's the reason, and you can actually quite clearly see him weaving in the background. So that was that's a little brain fade, unfortunately.
Well, and communication, because as soon as that happens, as soon as the lights go out, all the protocols of being behind the safety car have got to be reminded to the driver. So between Ludo and Scott, Scott's the man at the helm, but he probably should have had a little reminder, no weaving.
Big story. So back to the other one about fuel. So Van Gisbergen to put on 79 to 80 litres. Coulthard to put on about 92, Courtney to stick on about 94, and Whincup about 103. I've only done 4 of them. There's obviously a few others in this game as well. We need to have a look at Winterbottom's numbers. He's currently in 5th. Bad sportsmanship flag also for Dale Wood, using too much of the turn 1-2 curbing.
Now, I know you're not going to like me. I know you're not going to like me.
Why would you think that?
But if you go from 5th to 24th for weaving, does that penalty fit the crime? It doesn't. It's too severe.
It's a big one.
It's a big penalty. Do you still like me?
It's okay. Always like you. I'm just sitting here contemplating the meaning of it all. The problem is, I think you find that it's just one of those things that's absolute. And right at the moment, I haven't got my ops manual right at my hands. Yeah, that was my Marcel Marceau impression, by the way. Yeah, so like if it's absolute, which I'm pretty sure it is in the rules, there's no wriggle room on it.
That's right. There's no discretion.
Yeah.
But as a penalty, it's a pretty big one. 5 seconds at the end of the race or something would probably be a more appropriate penalty. Anyway, we'll move on. Coulthard, Courtney, Van Gisbergen, Whincup, Winterbottom, Waters, Kelly, Percat, Lowndes, Reynolds. That's your top 10. This is a good battle now because Van Gisbergen's made real ground up to the back of James Courtney, and their fastest laps are telling tail because a 21.07 for Coulthard, a 20.97 for Courtney, a 21.08 for Van Gisbergen. So less than 1/10 of a second between the 3 cars in terms of their fastest lap.
Now, Courtney's also been under investigation in terms of pit lane procedure and no breach found for car number 22 that's just come up with the race control lane. That's the gap. First to second. Courtney clicks with this racetrack, doesn't he?
He does, doesn't he?
He's just got an affinity with the place. He seems to instantly know what he needs and set up. Remember that the time intervals of the corners here are so tight relative to many of the other tracks we go where you hang the car on the tyre for long periods of time. So the longest you spend turning here anywhere is actually the last corner, and it's almost walking pace. It's just under 5 seconds and it's 65 Ks. I mean, you're quicker than that in the Woolworths car park in Melbourne. But most of the rest of the corners are somewhere between 1.5 seconds to 2.5 seconds. So the point I'm making is the direction change at this racetrack is very quick and sharp. And that's typically been something the Walkinshaw racing cars have been good at in recent years, Tander and certainly Courtney. Where they hang the car on the tyre for longer, that's been their problem.
Yeah.
And it hasn't always been something that's easily cured. Turn 9 it's also super slow, 4.8 seconds, and then the fast one at turn 8 is 4.7 seconds. But everything else is just a quick jink and you're off in another direction.
Well, both those corners you're talking about, 9 and 14, I mean, they're 16, 65K, aren't they? So they're not corners that are normal to places like Phillip Island or Sydney Motorsport Park or even Ipswich or something. So your point is 100%. That's the corner that I love, that big, fast right-hander at turn 8. That's a great shot. And down to turn 9. This is the corner we just spoke of. 60K in first or second gear. A lot of guys use second gear to conserve the rear tyre. They've been Coulthard, Courtney, Van Gisbergen.
Welcome back to the Clipsal 500 live, free and in HD here on 10. Troubles for Todd Kelly in the car sales Nissan. Goes into pit lane as we approach the halfway mark. Don't forget, RPM is back next Sunday, 4 p.m. on 10. Make sure you join us. An exclusive with Aussie Grit Mark Webber opens up on Life After Motorsport. That's RPM, the new look RPM, back 4 p.m. next Sunday.
He's having a lunge now, Van Gisbergen down the inside. He caught some curb, he locked the rears on the run into 9 then with Courtney. Remember, they had a great exchange here last year, but he did catch a lot of curb at 8 and it bounced out towards the fence. I'm surprised he was even close enough when they got down to the hairpin to even have a sniff.
I agree. He was bold on the way in, and when he had that big move, his line at turn 8's weird.
Courtney ran wide. Courtney's locked up.
Courtney or Coulthard? I'm not sure whether it was Fabian or James.
Yeah, it was James.
Was it? Yeah, sorry. He got away with it because he still got a massive gap.
Yeah, so all of a sudden that margin's opened up between the top three, and just a heartbeat ago they were pretty much line astern. Yeah, so Courtney couldn't get it stopped. I could see him battling to turn it, and there was smoke coming from the front of car 22. So all these guys are working the last phase of these tyres out, and it's hard at the moment. There's not a lot of grip out there. That's the reason for the little unforced errors here and there. They've got little to work with. So watch the curb. I think he gets a bit of it here, and he has a little touch with Courtney. And I think he just upset the car slightly on the inside as well.
It's here. This is the one. Check this out. So at that spot, that was the one that he had a turn in. And when he gets there, Neil, when we watch the approach phase to that corner, he's about 300 or 400 mil wider than anybody else. He's got the left-hand front wheel over the yellow line, or the white line, and he moves it across to the inside in a different rate. So he's got a different driving style and technique, like a turn-in technique at turn 8, which sometimes serves you well for actually getting the car to the corner, but it made a big slide there in behind Courtney. He gathered it up nicely.
Best line that I've caught on the radio so far this weekend from Krusty, from Richard Holway down at Wilson Security Racing GRM. He said to Tander, keep drinking. I don't reckon he'll need much in the way of incentive there, because it would be roaring hot. Trouble at the end of Wakefield Street as well. I can hear a lock-up in the background. There's one or two smoke signals down there. So people battling with their tyres at the end of this sequence now. We're right in the zone where we're starting to see people get themselves sorted out to come into the pit lane.
And Jamie Whincup, he's been told to come in, no option.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I just watched that pit stop for Todd Kelly. He came in the number 7. They took that wheel, if you can see. Obviously, this tyre is completely destroyed. There's no marks on the rim. He didn't hit anything. He reported he didn't hit anything compared to the first time he had a puncture. There was a touch with another car. So they didn't change anything underneath it. There was no sign of anything rubbing this tyre from under the guard. So they're a little bit perplexed by this, and just adds, unfortunately, some pain to it all. But number 7 hasn't managed to get all its fuel drop in the car, so Todd will have to come to the lane again.
Thanks, Murph. And that other lock-up that we could hear in the background before was Todd Kelly up at turn 4. So these guys are still out.
Gee, he almost went off then. He was had half a tyre off the road.
Yeah, and it's real easy on the painted lines, or even if you venture onto the grass, to bowl a wide down there. So we're seeing a stretch in the fuel range as a result of the safety car, and as you pointed out, Whincup in. Race control are monitoring more body work on the circuit somewhere as well, I can hear.
4 tyres and fuel, 4 tyres and fuel.
This is fuel to the finish for Whincup. Looks like he's quite got the pace in this car.
Well, he dropped 4.5 seconds behind Van Gisbergen because of that tyre age. He probably did a pretty good job based on how long they were on the car for.
It's a bit of an unfair comparison, because early on the stint looked okay, but he had to stretch it a long way.
10 seconds remaining. Pit lane is still clear. 5 seconds remaining. Pit lane is clear to go when you drop. Clear to go when you drop.
It's a lot of fuel to go in that car.
Clear, go.
And that's when you really notice the heat in the car, sitting still for that long. So that's Whincup done, and Chaz Mostert has had a difficult run this afternoon in the Super Cheap car. Meantime, McLaughlin's clawing his way back up in car 17. He's now in 17th position, in behind Simona Di Silvestro in the Team Harvey Norman entry. That's Alex Rouleau. His debut in the Virgin Australia Supercars Championship. And in comes Courtney. And I reckon Bright's got a failed cool suit. They're going to throw water all over him. They'll rip the window out of that car, and they're going to throw water.
Wow, of all the days to have that happen.
Okay, mate. That's what's going on. All clear, pit lane.
So we're at this critical phase of the race.
Quickly, let's go.
Seeing lots of cars making this final stop.
Still clear.
Needed about 94 litres of fuel. The refuel rate's 3 3/4 litres a second.
Still clear. Go, mate, get out of here. Go.
That didn't sound polite, did it? Get out of here.
No. Nice manners, wasn't it?
Lots of fresh air there for him. Waters in, Tander in, Slade in, Douglas in. Waters now out of the lane.
So that's an interesting gap. Because Courtney to Whincup is real. So he's made a lot of ground, Courtney, based on that last fill, and we spoke of how long Whincup had to stand still for.
Here we go.
Now the games begin here.
Coulthard in the lane. Critical stop now. According to my numbers, needs about 92 litres of fuel. Going to tweak it. They're going to tweak it.
Yep, they are tweaking it right now. And they'll probably want to stiffen the back of the car up based on that inside front wheel locking.
Okay, just finishing off that change now. The wheel's going on.
And the more rubber down, the stiffer you can run the cars.
Just waiting on the fuel.
More grip,
Nothing in pit lane that's following
more
up.
spring rate.
Once we get dropped you, you'll be good to go. Still clear.
Craig Lowndes in also.
All good.
Nice stop. Very composed.
It was.
No panic.
So Lowndes in, and I said before that intercepted a radio message for Bright. I reckon he's got heat stress down there at the moment. They're going to yank the window and pour water on him. There's the gap. That's the gap, Fabian, to James Courtney. So the next one that we'll see is what happens when Van Gisbergen takes his stop. So it's a pretty big gap. Ooh. And here's Lowndes dropping in with Waters and his teammate Whincup just tucked in behind. And Jamie will try and sneak up the inside at turn 4 here on Craig. Does it pretty easily. Cold tyres for Craig. He won't be able to get straight up to racing speed. He'll be okay in about half to 3/4 of a lap. They'll come on. Now Van Gisbergen is now in the lane. This is the critical stop of the race. He should come out in front. We reckon he's got 79 or 80 litres of fuel to drop.
Okay, mate,
he was in a good position on the track.
We're doing 4 tyres fuel. We'll have a look at the screen tear off. Nice on the mark.
And all of that assumes a perfect stop. Sometimes they're not, as evidenced even just with the left rear then.
Waiting on fuel now.
No changes to this
Pit
car.
lane is clear. 10 seconds of fuel remaining. Pit lane is still clear. 5 seconds of fuel. Pit lane is still clear. Clear to go. Clear to go.
Check this because
Really well managed.
it's very, very good.
Look at that for a margin. So straight in the game, and that's strategy. That's very clever strategy.
Certainly is.
So as I said earlier, sat still longer for stop number 1, took more fuel on, but then gained back up on the back of that lead pack, so had track position. Then when they stop second time, simple math, just takes less time to fill it back up and get it to home on lap 44. So comfortably fueled to the end and has got track position. Now I'm talking about it all being corrected. The reality is Winterbottom's actually the leader at the moment in the race, so there's more people to still focus and process their second stop. That we're talking about the leaders. And now Frosty's in, speak of the devil. That makes Rick Kelly our leader in car number 15 for Singlet Racing. Percat. So Rick Kelly, Michael Caruso, James Moffat, 1, 2, 3. So Winterbottom, Percat, High and McLaughlin now in the lane, fueling to the finish.
Okay, you go on the drop, please. Go on the drop. Go. 0 to fuel.
There you go, the leaders.
Make sure the wheels are done. We're right on this fuel.
It's going to put Frosty
up in
4th, is it? I think. Will he get out in front of Cam? Yeah, I think he might, but he might be vulnerable. No, he won't. So he might be vulnerable when they get up to the top of turn 4, and he still could be because he'll have Whincup looking to try and do exactly what he did to his teammate a lap earlier. So he has a sniff. Frosty knows he's there and just moves it to the right of the road ever so slightly. So this is a pretty wild battle pack. And look at this, down the inside goes Jamie, and he tags him. He's tagged him and turned him. 180-degree spin for Winterbottom at turn 5.
Whincup will be in a bit of strife for that one, I think. I need to see another view just to see how far he got up there.
Brendan Hogan, engineer, new partnership.
Behind AD.
He crisscrossed him, and he went for the shallow dive at turn 5, Jamie Whincup.
But when Mark Winterbottom turned in, he wouldn't have known where Jamie was. And often, when you pop out of the mirror like that, it's very hard to understand where the other car is. I'm just not sure whether Mark Winterbottom turned right down to the apex or he left him some room. So we'll just have to have a look at that. So,
and sportsmanship flag a car 5 over use of the turn 2 curbs.
Where does Rick come out? He's going to come out in front of Craig Lowndes. So that's going to put Rick Kelly into 7th position.
It's been a great run, hasn't it?
A lot of fuel coming out of that car as he first turned in. Not now. That's sealed up now. That's fine. So try to work out just how far up alongside Whincup was. He was going to dive at the right-hander, and then he chose to go down to the left. Now, Frosty wouldn't know where he is. Now, does Frosty turn right in? No, he doesn't turn right in. Here it is. Yeah, no, he's hidden behind the vehicle. I think Jamie's actually in a bit of strife for that one.
Bad sportsmanship flag, a car 88 over use of the curbs at turn 2.
So
it looks better from that angle. It looks like it's further up.
All the different angles. It might be one that ends up being looked at later. Interesting, both 5 and 88, both getting bad sportsmanship flags, both at a time when they've got other things to worry about for overusing the curb at turn 2. So here we are on board with Frosty. He rotates. He's lucky he didn't get cleaned up by someone who's exiting a blind corner there. Here it is again from the Red Rooster chopper cam. So little crisscross. Jamie dives down the inside, has to mount the curb because the gap diminishes. Only 3/4 of a car width there, and we stop it. I mean, he's right in the middle of the car. Very difficult to call those, and it depends on which side you're on. You know, if you're in one squad, you've got a polarised view, and the same on the other side as well. One of the things that in Rule 8.4 in the sporting code this year is that they've decided that unless someone is wholly to blame and it becomes obvious, then they'd rather investigate it later when there's data available and you can look at the proper onboard camera views as well. So it might be something that gets deferred.
I'm with the team boss at ProDrive, Tim Edwards, who had a good close look at all those replays as they unfolded. Have you got a view on that?
Yeah, I'm disappointed. That's my view. Look, it'll be interesting to see. You know, they've obviously done a lot of work on the judicial system, and so, you know, it's a good test case for them now to work through it.
Okay. Tim Edwards, he's the team principal at ProDrive Racing Australia, and there's his man Mark Winterbottom, who's now down in 15th place in car 5, and not only having the frustrations of being involved in an incident at turn 5, but also has a bad sportsmanship flag for heaving over the top of the turn 2 curb. And race control confirming they will investigate 88 and 5. So that's a live investigation now. They're not saying post-race. Suggests that they may be looking to meter out something. So car number 34 is James Moffat, and he's enjoying this car. He's trundling along nicely at the moment. So it's actually a 1.7 second gap between Van Gisbergen and Coulthard, first and second at the moment. We're looking at the battle here between Nick Percat and Jamie Whincup. These fellas are battling for 7th and 8th. Running into turn 11 now, just in behind the pit paddock area. So the top 10, Van Giz, Coulthard, Courtney, Waters, Rick Kelly, Lowndes, Whincup, Percat, followed by Mostert and James Moffat, who I made mention of before. He's just completed that final fill to the end run, and he's been very comfortable in that car. Very strong this weekend. Let's get back downstairs.
Yeah, boys, and a brutal way for Taz Douglas to step into Lucas Dumbrell Motorsport this weekend. He's had a cool suit failure. They tried to punch the windows out of the car during the pit stop and send him out, but then, according to the team, he started talking gibberish, in their words, on the radio. So for safety, they pulled him in, and his day is over for today.
Scott Sinclair, we thought you'd come and get a bit of a report card on the performance of Simona. She's doing a brilliant job. She's done an amazing job all week. You guys must be super impressed.
Yeah, she's doing a fantastic job. We always knew this event would be tough, but to be honest, she's probably exceeded our expectations at this point. Some of the things we've seen her do during practice and whatnot, on the data has been really encouraging. So for her now, it's about being able to put it together lap in, lap out. But, that's a good problem to have because the speed's certainly there.
How's the any comments from sitting in that car at the moment, that sweat box, because it's going to be pretty warm. Probably hasn't dealt with something like that in a long time.
No, she hasn't. She made the comment earlier in the weekend, can we pull the front windscreen out? That's more what she's used to. But she's a consummate professional, and we're really impressed with how professional she is. No complaining, just gets on with it. And, we're seeing a great effort today, and hopefully she can bring it home, and we bank that, and we'll try again tomorrow.
Thanks, Scott.
Thanks.
So while Scott Sinclair was in conversation there with Greg, we saw those shots of Dale Wood just limping into the pit lane. He's made it back now. We jump on board in the Team Harvey Norman entry. This is Simona Hard at work, currently in 21st position. Best lap of the race, 1 minute 22.1. And the fastest lap of the race is James Courtney, effectively 21 even, call it. So it's a 1.1 second margin between them. That's not bad,
Very
is it?
good. And she did her fastest lap just a couple of laps ago following Todd Kelly. So she's learned from this experience, and that's a real credit to her for that.
That's what I said, I think it was yesterday. You and I were in a conversation in here. When you hear that call on the radio, what did Blake say then? Was it 27 laps to go? Oh, my goodness. So when you're in the car and it's that hot and it's a tough afternoon and you hear that many laps to run, it underscores just how brutal the Clipsal 500 is. And you can't really train for it. I made that point in the Hino Hub earlier on. Here we are inside the garage at Erebus. Dale Wood stepping out.
He was limping into the pits there before very slowly. And you can see the level of fatigue. Hard to explain just from a physical standpoint how tough this is. Cabin temperatures almost 60 degrees. Heart rate high, physicality high. At no point do you get a rest. And about this stage of the race, there will be not a driver in this field that won't be seriously feeling it in terms of the conditions and how arduous this task is of 250 Ks around the street race.
So, boys, we saw Dale Wood entry from Erebus Motorsport coming to the pits, mate. Are you all right there? You are very, very hot. Has your cool suit failed as well?
I don't know. That's, I don't know, the gearbox just suddenly, like a no gears, we just had a box full of neutrals, so not sure what's going on. It was hot out there.
You were hot, so I mean, also you driving around there with a cool suit that probably wasn't working properly?
I think that cool suit was working. It's just hot.
Thanks, bud.
It's hurting. It's hard to even speak when you're in that sort of condition, so you feel for Dale Wood out there. And it always feels worse when you've got problems. Now, here's a bit of old-fashioned communication for somebody in one of the Pro Drive cars, I presume Jason Bright. Meantime, I didn't pick it up early, but Van Gisbergen's actually busted the lap record. The lap record was held by Whincup on a 21.05, and Van Gisbergen's done a 20.9.
Yeah, that only just happened in his lap 52. So that's only, it's 1/100th of a second faster.
This is important, Mark, that caption came up on screen, and I alluded to this a little bit earlier, that if it's unclear, there's a preference to resolve after the race. And so the battle that ended up in contact at turn 5 between cars 5 and 88, between Winterbottom and Whincup, is going to be resolved after the race. They'll look at it in more detail. The problem with all of the angles that we were seeing is each one of them gives you a different view, and that makes it very difficult for all parties. So they'll now study data, take the supercars onboard cameras, which are a different camera to the ones that we have in our coverage, study it up and come up with an outcome. Sometimes it's just not that simple to even come up with an outcome that will be resolved later. So Dale Wood looked pretty raw, didn't he? That's what you feel for him in those conditions. So great pace. Van Gisbergen going back to the lap record, and James Courtney's done the same thing. He's dipped under that old record too. I think it stood for 5 odd years in the hands of Jamie Whincup. He did it back in 2012.
Moffat, Reynolds, Caruso, and now Tander up in behind. This is the battle for 10th position. Van Gisbergen now 3.96, so almost 4 seconds in front of Coulthard. So Van Gisbergen has really shown genuine car speed in this last sector of the race. No changes to that car, so he's had good pace from the start of the race. Whincup, after that little bit of contact with Winterbottom, may have actually had a little bit of wheel alignment issue or right front damage, because He's shown no pace. He was in front of Lowndes when that happened. He's back behind Craig Lowndes. He's currently 7th, and he's roughly half a second a lap slower than Van Gisbergen and Coulthard.
I've just confirmed Jason Wright is suffering with a malfunctioning radio. He's unable to hear the team, but they can hear him. He also doesn't have a working cool suit. So, boys, I'm not sure, is it worse or better not knowing how long it is to go in this race when you don't have a working cool suit?
I think it's
Very good
better.
point. Yeah, better.
Yeah, I heard the radio chat before when they were talking about ripping the window out of it and throwing water all over him. As soon as I heard that, I went, so that's a pretty hard deal for Jason. You see that the driver's window is out, and they've plucked out the passenger's window as well just to get some air movement through the cabin, which the engineers prefer not to do because it makes a mess of the aero performance, hurts the rear wing of the car. But right now, breathing takes precedence over aero.
And it won't be doing very much. Yeah, that's right, but it won't be doing very much.
No, it'll be stinking hot in there. So they're back to an old pit board, so it'll be L for lap and P for position, and all of that information's a lap old as well. So the modern era, you're lucky you have all that information on your digital dashboard thanks to Motec. Van Gisbergen's got 4.3 seconds over Coulthard.
You're watching the Clipsal 500 live, free and in HD here on 10. The last 20 laps of race 1 of the Virgin Australia Supercars Championship. Shane Van Gisbergen leads Fabian Coulthard and James Courtney, with Cameron Waters in 4th. Don't forget to join us March 24, 25 and 26 for the Australian Formula 1 Grand Prix, the start of a brand new season.
Rulo's been called in here, car number 62, Repair Management Australia entry for Lucas Dumbrell Motorsport. And it's gone back out again, not sure what that was about. Meantime, car 2 has also been in the back left corner again of Todd Kelly's car. There'll be a lot of damage from the flailing rubber. They've got something, there must be something rubbing in the underbody on that car.
Young Alex Rullo is currently down in 23rd position, and just looking at fastest laps, we were talking about Simona before. Alex's fastest lap is a 22.32, so he's roughly 2.3 seconds away from...
I wonder whether it's the guard folded on Todd's car as a result of the contact on that first lap.
Maybe, yeah.
But because it's a composite guard, generally they don't get into the tyre that hard. It makes me think there's something else metallic involved somewhere, like when it bottoms out up in the shotgun panel, it's copping a whack, or no doubt they'll have a long, hard look.
Well, so the tyre's bigger, isn't it?
Yeah, the tyre's bigger. Its outside diameter's, I need to find the numbers, at 5 or 15 mil bigger in total terms. But they're sending Taz Douglas back out again. They've refreshed him. It is
21.
5 mil. 5 mil difference in its outside diameter.
I'm with Mark Dutton at Red Bull Racing Australia. Shane Van Gisbergen at the top. Nice start to the title defence there. But I want to ask about Jamie. Is he just sort of struggling a little at the moment?
Yeah, we called him in on that safety car. That didn't happen, unfortunately. So what happened there was it meant he was running out of fuel quicker than other cars, had to pit. So he's doing a longer stint on his tyres. So yeah, we haven't played that one as well as we could have. And then obviously there's the incident, which he was totally in the clear from. That's his view from the car and ours from out of the car as well.
Okay, there you go, boys.
Thank you.
Well, it's what you said. Well, you get a disappointed view from Tim Edwards. You get a that was okay view from Mark Dutton. Depends on who you play for. Whether you're forward hold.
I can't recall the last time anyone went, you know what, we were 100% in the wrong there, got that wrong. We'll take that one on the chin. That never happens. But that's part of the game. That, you expect everybody to fight hard for their corner. In the end, there has to be an umpire.
It's been a good battle, this one.
It has been. And he's kept the pressure on the whole way, hasn't he? And he'll be well torched at the end of it. Little anti-roll bar adjustment there for James Courtney, just to change the characteristic in the car.
And you do, you're making the hand gestures now. It's the straight line speed we made mention of earlier, but You do, in this last phase of the race, last 15 laps, often see mistakes just because of the driver demand and how exhausted they are. It's very easy late in the race to make a simple mistake, and somewhere like turn 8 is probably the most difficult area.
You see James make a big brake bias adjustment there as well. Not dissimilar to what we've seen the 08 Race Engineering cars in the recent past as well. They've found a way of making rapid adjustments because they're wanting to change the way the brake bias performance is front to rear in different sections of the track, rather than using the traditional rotary knob that's in the car that we've explained in years gone by, which they still have. That gives you a quick adjustment on the run, usually preset and predetermined as to what you're trying to achieve. So he just reached down and pushed a little dark lever right next to the seat.
Ooh. Max Rullo had an ugly moment there off the exit curve at turn 14. So here he goes, just runs up into the dirt, into the grass, and as he's grabbed that next gear, ooh, that could have been pretty wild if it arrowed to the right. And Courtney's very good through turn 8. In fact, he's been the best, he's been the fastest there all weekend. So he's made real ground on Fabian that time.
He's really starting to threaten now, isn't he? Much closer on this past lap than he was the previous. Officially down to 0.4 of a second between the two of them. So on that last lap where we rode with James, we saw an anti-roll bar change and also a change to brake bias. So he's continuing to chase and trim that car. And remember that with the Shell V-Power Racing entry of Fabian Coulthard, they've been hunting
15 to go.
Better performance in that car as well. They made adjustments in both pit stops to try and get that car to brake and turn better. Try and minimise the front wheel locking, that inside front locking. So it's an 8-second margin, Van Gisbergen to Coulthard.
That's why.
And have a look at the numbers. Yeah. So he's blazing at the moment, Van Gisbergen. So he's picked up where he left off at the end of last year's championship, where he won on the streets of Sydney Olympic Park in our last race.
But back it off now.
Yeah.
You don't need to do those lap times anymore.
James had a big slide out of 7 that time. That's probably hurt the straight line speed now on the run down towards turn 8. And that gives Fabian the breather that he needs. Track's really developing rubber grooves now too. You can see them beginning to appear everywhere. So it's gripping up. It'll be fast tomorrow depending on the conditions. I think it's just a fraction cooler again tomorrow. We're riding now with Rick Kelly, Sengled Racing, Nissan Altima. This is out of turn 9. Rick is currently in 5th. Cam Waters in front, who's earning his money this afternoon. He's had pressure for a long time now from Rick. Drivers in vastly different phases of their career. Here you go. There's the slide that I spoke about. So he lit it up at turn 7. He bounced it off the curb as soon as he touched the throttle. It slid. That's what happened to Van Gisbergen yesterday. So you look at Waters, race 45 in his career. For Rick Kelly, race 465.
Yeah, there's a fair difference here, isn't it? Young Cam's only 22 years of age. It'll actually be a really good learning curve for him today if he can hold off Rick Kelly, because that experience in terms of just the resilience and the toughness to get through a race like this, but with someone very experienced behind. And Rick's a great racer. You know, he just continues, he's dogged, he keeps on torturing. And the way that Cam's been driving through the course of the day, let's see if he can hold him up. I hope he does, because he's currently in 4th position. It would be a great result for the young guy from Mildura.
As we just head into the last part of this race, wanted to check in with Barry Rogers. Barry, both the guys have had a pretty solid race, particularly James Moffat, currently sitting in 10th position.
Yeah, look, around it today, I mean, look, as much as we want to compete up the front, and we're not happy to be 10th or 12th or 13th, but it's just important to get some, do some laps and just further develop where we're going. So, pleased how the guys are gone. I think James might be about 10th and Tander a couple of spots behind, so if they could both get to 10 by the end, we'll be quite happy with that, I think.
Thanks, Barry.
No worries, thanks.
Just had a quick word with Brad Busherson, who looks after or is engineering Cam Waters, and I said to him, do you reckon he can hold out Rick Kelly to the end of this race? He said his radio communications have been quiet, but they are confident he can do the job and hold Rick out here.
So 14 laps now remain. Oh, that was a giant leap over the curb for Rick Kelly.
He didn't get a curb hop. What's gone on there?
It's because he was a metre in the air.
Dukes of Hazzard, wasn't it? Unbelievable.
That was a giant leap for mankind, that one. It was. That was huge. He crunched it hard. Let's have a look at the super slow-mo. Bang, up she goes. Oh. Look at that. So it's in the air, on the angle, and then lands.
And he's turning it down.
And slides out the other side. It's Coxie. Cameron Cox. Dressed for battle. Mr. Fix-It down at Nissan Motorsport. He's into everything. You go down to the workshop and he's got every task known to man going on down there. I saw him down there at one stage changing brake shoes on an old Nissan Pulsar.
Really?
That tells you that you've actually got a skill set from one end of the business to the other when it comes to motor racing understanding and motoring understanding.
You know what it tells you? Well, they should have traded that car a long time ago.
Brake shoes. Did you notice I said that? And Alex Rulo has also been given a bad sportsmanship warning for the overuse of curbs at turn 2. So a few of them starting to get a little bit close to the edge now. That's the second time that Rick's tripped over the curb down there. This time it slid more violently off the curb. You want to be careful because it starts to hurt the rear tyre too much. Craig Lowndes is next in the queue. Lowndes said to us all weekend, he said in a text exchange with me last night that he felt the car would be okay in the race. It's turned out to be true.
Yeah.
So he's rolling along there in 6th at the moment with Jamie, his teammate, right behind. Made up 7 spots. He qualified in 13th. And if Rick keeps having the awkward moments at turn 2 and excites that rear tyre, he might even grab another.
He and Whincup have got very similar speed. Love this shot. This big, fast flowing corner. Just gets it stopped there, Rick Kelly.
Someone was having a battle stopping in the background there. You could hear the angry protest of some Dunlop rubber in the background. It's turn 11. Starting to be 1 or 2 shadows around the circuit here and there as well, which just makes it a little hard sometimes to pick your braking reference and your turn-in point. Data on the right-hand side gives you an idea of gear position and pace. And that looked like it was a moment down at 9 with Scott Pye and Scott McLaughlin. So I think that was a close exchange down there between the 2 Scotts. They're down at the moment in 17th and 18th position, Pye and McLaughlin. Tough afternoon for Scott McLaughlin.
Especially after such promise in terms of pace from qualifying. Little mistake. Putting back the top 10. But a little bit of a communication issue there at the restart is the problem. There's Slade down the inside of Mark Winterbottom. Turn 4, Slade's currently up now to 15th.
And if you're wondering and you've only joined us late, Winterbottom and Whincup got together several laps ago, quite a few laps ago now, at turn 5, resulting in Mark Winterbottom being turned around, and that's going to be investigated after the race. So that's news that we'll update you with either before we go off air or tomorrow, when I hope you can join us for race 2 of the Virgin Australia Supercars Championship. Meantime, battle for second is well and truly alive. It's Fabian Coulthard from James Courtney. Meantime, Shane Van Gisbergen's gone out to just on 11 seconds now. And the car number 9.
Penalty car 9, penalty car 9, overuse of the turn 2 curbs.
Oh, about to roll that one out. So car number 9 overusing the curb. So someone has finally busted the rule down there. They give them a set number of lives and they warn them with the bad sportsmanship flag, but now the first to be a victim to that penalty is David Reynolds, sadly, because it's been a very strong run for Erebus Penrite Racing. That new car had a good go. Now Courtney is now well and truly in the hunt here, so let's just keep a real close eye on this. James will be trying everything to get the smoothest run out of 7, flow the car through 8 for the dive down at 9 into the hairpin. It's not quite close enough at the moment because that pace, either the power down or the straight line speed, or the combination of both for Fabian, has got him in really good shape. James is right back on him again. So the next spot, occasionally he can sneak up the inside at the final corner, but that requires very, very good track position. Or he might have a sneak at turn 4.
Yeah.
They're the 3 primary spots to keep an eye out. Turn 4's at the end of Wakefield Street on those bumps. But when you go down the inside there, you are something of a pioneer because it's dirty and it's bumpier.
and you make the line tighter if you have a lunge there. Makes the right-hander hard work.
Probably almost got to do a curb hop to get down to the inside. So that spot there to get a run, almost got a straight line it.
Father and son, Stephen Johnson and Nick Johnson, watching at Shell V-Power Racing. We've become accustomed over the years, many years, you have great contests with DJ back in the day when the cars were painted in similar livery. And so this is a great reunification of a couple of big names. Now here's David Reynolds serving that penalty, sadly. It's a millimetre perfect requirement down there at turn 2, unfortunately, and it's a very difficult thing to get right lap after lap, particularly as you begin to lose tyre grip and focus, because the mental application required at the back end of the race also becomes a real uphill battle. This is Tim Blanchard here in car number 21 for Team Cool Drive, back with the Brad Jones Racing squad again this year. This is his 9th race at the Clipsal 500. He too has a great finishing record here. He's come home every time, 100% of the time. Back in 2008, that tyre's chattering on the road there for him at turn 7. His best result, he came home just outside the top 10 in 11th. Right at the moment, he's running in 19th position. It's 54 seconds from the lead, and on the other side of him, he's got David Reynolds as a result of that penalty just in front. He's got Simona Di Silvestro behind him in the Nissan Altima.
The only car that's able to stay in the 21s is Shane Van Gisbergen, and again on that lap extended the lead by about another 0.6 of a second. 11.95 now, almost 12 seconds ahead of Fabian Coulthard. Everybody else is in the mid-22s.
That was John Blanchard Senior, his grandfather. Yeah, the pace at the back end of the race for Van Gisbergen's been really impressive. Not just the strategy down there at Red Bull, but just sheer pace when it counted. I'm intrigued to see whether or not this one stays as it is, or whether or not it builds up to a big crescendo. 9 laps remaining.
I think he's just dropped back off him a little bit.
I believe he has no radio, so might not get told about you coming.
He's just dropped off him a little bit. Neil, he's 3 or 4 car lengths back, and you just do that sometimes just to get some cool air, recover yourself, get the brake temperatures back in order, because everything gets hot. The engine gets hot. The air temperature for everything coming in the front of the car gets the heat soak from that lead car. And there's the field for you. There's Waters, Kelly, Lowndes, Whincup. There's Percat. Mostert, who's recovered reasonably well after all those dramas at the start, up to 9th. Moffat, Caruso, Tander, Holdsworth. So this is a great way of seeing where your favourite driver is. Slade, Winterbottom. There's Scott Pye. Scott McLaughlin, who's had a pretty ordinary day. So is this young man, Dave Reynolds, who was going quite well. He was hovering around the back of the top 10. He was actually in 12th before that drive-through. Blanchard is 19th. Here's Simona, who you've just got to dip your lid and say what a great job for the weekend that she's done, because this has been a very tough assignment. That was Taz Douglas, but he's actually out of order because he was in the pit for a little while. Here's Alex Rouleau, Jason Bright, and then back to our leader again. So we're just talking about pace, and on that lap, another 21.95 for Shane Van Gisbergen, an extraordinary pace. He's got to back it off now. You don't need to be trying that hard. Rusty?
Just down at Erebus Motorsport, wanted to get a quick update firstly on Dale Wood with team boss Barry Ryan. How's Dale?
Yeah, Dale's fine, yeah. We unfortunately had a gearbox mount break. He got in the car, he's pretty hot like everybody is, but yeah, he's fine.
When I walked in here, I sensed that you weren't 100% happy, and even Betty Clemenco's not 100% happy. Just explain why.
Yeah, like the judicial system's had a big overview, and you know, they don't want to do drive-through penalties. And we've just copped the drive-through penalty in the hardest race of the year for overuse of curbs. We saw a multiple champion turn someone around, and he's got no penalty. So it's just not fair in a race like this. I don't think the play-on thing should happen, is what they want. So a drive-through for overuse of curbs is just not right.
Leave you to it.
22.2 seconds is the gap now, Van Gisbergen to Coulthard. There's their man, David Reynolds. Penrod on the car again, and they've got some Ryco backing also for this weekend. Here's Alex Rouleau. Whoops. I've got it. And Jason Wright having a battle. It suggests there might be something on the road back there at the moment. That was pretty wild for both of those guys. Remember that got overlooked a bit in all the drama of Bathurst last year, but David Nerebus came away with a lap record at Mount Panorama as well, which was a fantastic performance.
Certainly their speed from Bathurst onwards was impressive. And here's a shot for that magnificent chicane at turn 1, 2, 3, and the run up Wakefield Street to turn 4 through this 90-degree section. 5, 6, and then when you turn back the other direction at turn 7, headed through the parklands and up to turn 8, lots of different lines there. You can see Cam Waters overshot the exit curb, ran very wide. There's concert venue there on the right-hand side, and there's the overuse of curb also for Chaz Mostert. So he'll have to be careful in the closing laps not to be caught. There's into turn 9 and into the back of the pit area on your right. We're on board Red Rooster Chopper Cam, having a look at what is a composite circuit. It's a hybrid track. One end to permanent parklands layout. The rest is the northern end is a very traditional street circuit layout. It's the final corner, roughly 65 kilometres an hour. And there's the bad sportsmanship flag being displayed to Chaz Mostert. We'll work out for you later on as to how many of those guys have either had that shown to them or they've had to do a tour at the pit lane. There's another one now, car 17, at Scott McLaughlin. So you don't need a drive-through at that point of the race. Scott McLaughlin is in 17th position. It's Todd Kelly with more material hanging off the back of the Altima. Yeah, they put race tape on it last time, but obviously hasn't held it sufficiently.
I understand it's been 10 bad sportsmanship flags so far for curb overuse down at turn 2.
Thanks for filling that gap in for me. I started the story. I can always rely on you.
Well, you finished mine yesterday with percentages when we were doing a maths exercise, so I felt like I should return serve in a nice way.
Thank you.
Now, this pressure between these two has just eased a little bit, hasn't it, in the recent past? The battle between Coulthard and Courtney. Spare a thought for these guys. They have been at it now for a very large chunk of time. We've been racing for 1 hour, 44 minutes and 15 seconds, a long time out there. And cars starting to slip and slide off the edge of the road. That's why they're falling off curbs, rubbing walls, tripping over the curb warning at turn 2. It's that end of the day. The speed of Van Gisbergen is telling. 1 minute 21.8. Everybody else is in the mid to low 22s on that lap 74. So this is going to be a very big result for Red Bull. Big statement. A lot of brinksmanship out there between these teams and drivers. Making a big statement at the start of the year is important.
It's amazing how the phases of the race work, isn't it? Because if you stop the race at the halfway point, you said, okay, we're all over at lap 40. DJR Team Penske and the Mobil 1 HSV racing team would have said, our cars aren't too bad, we're pretty close to Van Gisbergen, because they battled pretty hard, all three teams, in the early stages. But in the closing sector of the race, Van Gisbergen has just absolutely smashed them. 14 seconds is the gap now.
Yeah, so
that's not all about strategy.
No, from the critical point to the checkered flag for car 97, just been in another zone. It's interesting.
He's done the same now. Another 21.8, plays a 22.47 and a 22.47.
Incredible consistency. So just roll those out one after the other is amazing.
So Courtney's put the white flag up.
Yeah, sensed that in the last couple of laps. Wondered whether or not it was a rest or whether that's it. Meantime, there's still some pretty hefty battles going on down the field. This is teammates Craig Lowndes and Jamie Whincup. These fellas are battling for 6th and 7th at the moment. They're about 24 seconds off the money. So interesting to your last comment. So what's Van Gisbergen got in pace, setup and understanding in that car that these fellas don't have? Here comes Jamie down the inside. He's got right away. Craig backs out of it, gives him space. And that is Whincup up into 6th place. And Percat will have a piece of this as well. He's right on him. Close cluster of cars there. Now we jump into Nick Percat's car at turn 11, back to 2nd gear here. So he's tucked in behind the rear wing of Lowndes. So key to get more points in Jamie Whincup's recovery today. Every position counts. Super Slow-Mo's Simona Di Silvestro at 1. She's grabbing a bit of the tyre bundle here, and it's ripped the composite guard off that I made mention of before, that it's on the front and the rear of these cars. And she'll get home, but there's bits everywhere. We've got to be super careful through 8 because it's not going to turn or steer terribly well. Headlight is the worry there. Race controller in my ear as I speak, monitoring the situation. So all that from just clouding the tyres down there at 1. Frank Adamson from Supercars has just said in his opinion it's okay to get to the end.
I think the guard's actually okay, but I was concerned about the headlight or the plastic structure.
Here we go, down the inside comes Percat on Lowndes. So that's another vital spot for Nick Percat up to 7th. So Lowndes is struggling right at the back end.
Looks like a straight line speed issue for Whincup to pass him in the same spot.
One more, mate, one more. Gap is 15 seconds behind.
So we'll find out post-race. And when we wrap all this up as to what the issue is for Craig Lowndes. So here we go, last lap now for Shane Van Gisbergen. What an impressive run it's been. His performance in the top 10 shootout was extreme. His battle yesterday in qualifying was absolutely fantastic. He's got a margin, believe it or not. When we talk about these tiny, crazy margins, he's got a gap of 15 seconds coming up to almost 2 hours of racing, and that's a rarity in this business. Last time out, he was the winner on the streets of Sydney Olympic Park, and in the process claimed the Virgin Australia Supercars Championship. This will move him on to 20 career wins. It's another big win for Holden, the 99th for this model, and we're on board as he gasses up and slides it. He's going to kill those rear tyres. He's also the burnout master. He's relaxed. He's done quite a bit of off-season racing. He spent a couple of weeks in New Zealand. He's refreshed, re-energised, and as he negotiates the final corner of race 1, Shane Van Gisbergen makes a very big statement to commence 2017.
Brilliant work today. Not a heap of fuel for a burnout, but I still want to see your best on these new tyres.
Brad McPherson, engineer, wants to see a burnout. Home by 14.8 seconds from Fabian Coulthard. There he is. Tremendous performance. James Courtney, position 3. And how about Cam Waters? Thumbs up to Cam. Beautiful drive from Rick Kelly. Jamie Whincup chased him hard all the way home from Nick Percat and Craig Lowndes. And here's the Giz.
Well, what an emphatic way to start your championship campaign for the young New Zealander. He's 27 years of age. Did not make a mistake. Last phase of this race was superb. Fastest car on the track by a mile. Almost 15-second gap to Fabian Coulthard and James Courtney.
Not just faster than Fabian and James, but demonstrably faster than his own teammates as well. Everybody, including Whincup and Lowndes.
And I think what we saw today in the top 10 shootout showed the way that Van Gisbergen is going to approach this championship. Never seen him so animated. It was an unbelievable lap. He had to throw everything at it to eclipse the time of Fabian Coulthard. And this is the finish. right against the fence. It's one of the only finishes in Australian racing where you can hear in the amphitheatre, with all the people in the grandstand opposite the pit and all the people above the pit buildings, you can hear the crowd over the car and the engines, and he'll be absolutely rapt to have that finish for everybody as the first win for what is now the new Holden Racing team.
And 150 points. It's a maximum score to get things started, pick up where he left off. We'll have a look at the results for you, and it'll confirm that just under 15 seconds was the margin between Shane van Gisbergen and his compatriot Fabian Coulthard. So Kiwi drivers 1 and 2. James Courtney in the end didn't have a response for Coulthard, but on the podium, great drive. Cam Waters also a wonderful performance in position number 4 from Rick Kelly. Fought hard all day, lots of points and lots to cheer about in the Nissan Motorsport camp. Whincup, Percat, Lowndes, Mostert, then Moffat just outside the top 10. Michael Caruso, Garth Tander, Lee Holdsworth, Slade, Winterbottom, and that investigation to come on Whincup and Winterbottom after the race. And 1 or 2 tough stories. Punctures for Todd Kelly, a failed cool suit and comms problems for Jason Bright. But right now, it is all about Shane van Gisbergen. Big crowd. Huge passion in Adelaide for supercar racing. Shane has come home. Position number 1 again. And Adelaide's turned on another ripping day for us. Shane van Gisbergen is the man, 27 years of age. I asked him earlier in the week, how do you top a brilliant 2016 that included the championship win, the Pertec Enduro Cup, a great 12-hour performance and winning in Europe in GT? Well, there's the answer. Start winning again in 17. That was his dad, Robert. And he looks to be in pretty good nick. So he's pulled up strongly. Lots of things for us to follow through this evening in preparation for tomorrow's telecast to try and understand all of the tales of woe, who's going to adjust what needs fixing, and 1 or 2 things to resolve in the judiciary as well. So Van Gisbergen, as Mark Scaife said just a little earlier, his performance after the critical lap to the flag was absolutely outstanding.
Shane van Gisbergen, congratulations. What a dominant display of performance for your day here, defending your title as the champion and as the new team of the Factory Holden squad.
Yeah, what a great first day as Red Bull Holden Racing team. Thanks everyone, what a great crowd today. Thanks for coming out. Awesome race, very tough at the start, but yeah, we pushed on at the end, got to the front, great strategy, and yeah, hopefully we can do it again tomorrow. Thanks.
We were towards the end of the gap that you had in almost 15 seconds.
Yeah, I could have backed off, but I really wanted to know how these tyres will last, but unfortunately we won't have any data. I smoked them up, but anyway.
Woo. Enjoy that first podium. Fabian Coulthard, you had to work for it today. Hard work, and James Courtney certainly didn't let you rest.
No, I certainly had James breathing down my neck pretty much the whole race, but you know, the AAA car's pretty fast, so we've got a little bit of work to do, but you know, like we said from the get-go, we've got a small mountain to climb and we'll go at our own pace. But you know, thanks everybody back at work, you know, ladies and gentlemen back at work. You know, they're the ones that have done massive hours, and you know, I'm thankful that I can stand here because of them.
Enjoy that first podium for season 2017. James Courtney, the first podium for you in the new era of the HSV racing team.
Yeah, Mobile One HSV racing team, but not even team on the end, just racing. But yeah, it's would have loved it first. We were running second for a while there, but Cheese was just class of his own today. Had plenty of speed on board, and those guys did a great job. I was pressuring Fabs all the way to the end and hoping to make a mistake. A couple of little ones, but nothing big enough for us to get past. But front tyre temp was through the roof, so we're just a passenger hoping for something to happen. But yeah, like you said, Rihanna, great start to the season. Good bag of points. The guys did a great job, so we'll polish her up, see what happens tomorrow.
Enjoy the celebrations, JC.
Thank you.
Sabota Di Silvestro, your first 250k race in a supercar in an Adelaide and 30-degree heat. You look really good at the way you've jumped out of there. How tough was it?
Yeah, it was okay. Actually, the heat was okay. It's just really getting the rhythm down in the car and stuff like that. It was kind of cool in the beginning of the race because we were around cars and kind of fighting a little bit. So that was really good and really enjoyed that. And I think the pace, can be a little bit better, but the car was really good. And I think for a first one, we'll take it. It's we finished it, learned a lot during the race. Made a few mistakes in the pits, so, it will be better tomorrow.
You should be very proud of that first ever. Brilliant times, very consistent, and only that one little blemish towards the end with the front, but how do you feel physically?
It's okay, actually. I think because everybody freaked me out so much about it that, I had this in my mind, so it's actually okay, and once you're out there and you're having your rhythm, it's kind of okay for sure, but yeah, it is a long race and it is pretty hot, yeah.
Very well done.
Thank you.
It was brilliantly done, wasn't it? She's finished in 20th position, her third supercar race. The 28-year-old Swiss, she can be proud of that one, and to get through that and perform as she did is a proud achievement at Team Harvey Norman Nissan Altima. So fantastic day of racing. Shane van Gisbergen getting home by 14.7 seconds from Fabian Coulthard and James Courtney. Can't say enough about the performance of Cam Waters. Let's get back downstairs.
Absolutely, Cromley. You can't say enough about the performance of young Cam Waters in the Monster Energy Power Falcon. That was a great drive, a lot of pressure.
Yeah, it was. I'm just wrapped, to be honest. I was just excited to try and get in the top 10 and to come home fourth. That's absolutely awesome. So Rick was putting a lot of pressure on me at the end, but just kept hitting my markers. And the car has really good tyre life, but I think the outright pace probably isn't quite there. So.
Yeah, consistency looked really good. You're able to sort of maintain pretty good pace all the way through. Were you sort of waiting for it to go away?
Yeah, it was funny. Mine would go away a little bit, then he'd catch me, and then his would go away. So it was a bit of a seesaw through the race, but kind of dropped off and it was pretty consistent. So I'm happy, just super happy to get a fourth and get some points today, and we can work with that.
Yeah, great start to work with tomorrow. Good luck, mate.
Sweet, thanks, buddy.
Well done, Cameron Waters, Monster Energy Ford Falcon, a big bag of points, position number 4. Time now for the podium.
What an afternoon and what a way to start the 2017 championship. Time for the top 3 to make their way out for the Virgin Australia Supercars Championship Clipsal 500, race 1 of the season. In first place, from Red Bull Racing Australia, give it up for Shane van Gisbergen. Second position today from Shell V-Power Racing, Fabian Coulthard. And from Model 1 HSV Racing, third place, James Courtney. Representing our winning team from Red Bull Racing Australia, Grant McPherson. Our third place trophy to be delivered by Mr. Brad Wright, Retail Director, Clipsal by Schneider Electric. Our second place trophy, courtesy of Mr. Ray Dunn, Vice President, Schneider Electric, New Zealand. The winning team trophy, courtesy of the Honourable Leon Bignell, Minister for Motorsport. And our winner's trophy this afternoon, courtesy of Ms. Lisa Vlahos, MP and Minister for Disabilities. Ladies and gentlemen, your 2017 Virgin Australia Supercars Championship Clipsal 500 Saturday podium. Time now for the celebrations.
Well done, Shane van Gisbergen, Fabian Coulthard, Grant McPherson's up there as well to celebrate. There's the points, bottom left-hand corner of screen. And it's a 12-point margin between van Gisbergen and Coulthard. Courtney in third position from Cam Waters. And interesting to contemplate that pending the outcome of what happens with tonight's hearing, Whincup currently 6th and Scotty McLaughlin down in 17th and Mark Winterbottom in 15th. It's going to be fascinating to contemplate how all these guys recover overnight, play the game again tomorrow. Well caught. Great start for Shell V-Power Racing. There's even a competition on the podium.
Thank you, Neil Crompton. If you want to know just how hard a day at the office is here at the Clipsal 500, well, this is how we find Rick Kelly after a run up to 5th. A great run for you from starting in 8th position. But let's talk about this first of all. You came straight out to the ice bath. You actually asked me just then who won the race because you didn't really know what was going on. At what moment did this start to hit you?
Well, I've got to say, I firstly apologise for everyone at home that has to see this. But no, look, it's just information I don't need. The first three, there's no point my engineer telling me that on the radio. We're focused on our job that whole time out there. And to be honest, this is just about cooling the core temperature down as quickly as we can, because we've got to repeat exactly that tomorrow. And towards the end of the race, the last 10 or 15 laps, I think everyone would have been feeling it out there. So just trying to prepare myself as good as I can for tomorrow. But yeah, it was a really interesting race. To move forward from 8th to 5th for us is fantastic. I think if we had been in second, we probably had the pace to stay there. So I've got to qualify better.
You're a fit bloke. You've been through this scenario before. Just run us through what happens when you're in the cockpit when heat stress starts to, I guess, take a little bit of a hold. It didn't smash you around completely. You made it to the end of the race. But what starts to bother you?
You start to just drive the car more off rhythm than anything else. Your brain starts to slow up a little bit more. You stop thinking about what you can do to adjust the car and just driving by rhythm. But it could have been a little bit longer, the race for me, without us really struggling. I think, a few people towards the end would have been feeling it, especially in the feet. The pedal box is very, very hot. And so for me, that's the biggest thing. I think I'll be limping around for a week or so after this.
Don't worry, folks. He's got board shorts on underneath this ice pack that he's got going here, so suitably attired. Best of luck tomorrow, mate. We'll check in tomorrow.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Howie.
Thanks, Matty. I'm down here with the race winner who is on his way to the ice baths. That's the first thing he said to me, Shane. Straight to the ice bath for you. We'll come in here out of the way. Congratulations, mate. Just an awesome, awesome drive. That was one of the more dominant performances we've seen.
Yeah, the start wasn't so good. I struggled to get the tyres. Fabian pulled a pretty nice move, and yeah, once the tyres come up, the pace was really good. We just struggled with the strategy to get back in front, but once we did, the car was amazing. Like, click of bias, click of roll bar, you'd feel it really in the window, so great job.
How were you feeling in the car? Because we've seen some of the guys almost peeling themselves out. You're obviously a very fit man, but it can't have been easy.
Yeah, it was tough. Pretty race fit. Don't train much out of the car, so I'm pretty knackered, but felt good driving, but now the heat's just whacked me. I'm stuffed.
Were you surprised by the gap? 15 seconds. That's credit to you and your team.
I don't know. We didn't really know what pace we'd have. It became evident in the first stint that we had great tyre life, so we made the most of that. The last stint, we pitted earlier than we thought, but yeah, once I was clear, the tyre life was amazing.
And we let you go, mate. All that work, all that effort, you're knackered, but you still had a bit for the burnout, which I always appreciate.
I ran out of gas, otherwise I would have kept going, but yeah, pretty awesome. We probably should have got some tyre data from that, but yeah, had to have some fun.
Congratulations, rest up. We'll see you tomorrow, Shane.
Thank you.
Mark Howard said the words there. That was a dominant victory by Shane van Gisbergen and the Red Bull Holden Racing team. There's been a lot of talk in the build-up to this, and it occurred throughout qualifying in the shootout that Red Bull Holden Racing team is going to have a big challenge from DJR Team Penske, and that's how it played out. So that's a big marker in the sand from the championship winning team already.
A couple of takeouts, I think, Matt, from this race. Firstly, Shane has telegraphed a punch to his teammate, most importantly, I think, Jamie Whincup. And isn't it funny? It all comes back to qualifying. You have to qualify in front of your teammate. Jamie was severely compromised because when they thought maybe they were going to get a safety car on lap 1, in comes Jamie on what is the compromise strategy. So his day is kind of ruined against his teammate. So we'll roll up again tomorrow, and it'll be very much about strategy in qualifying.
But it will also be about what we just saw with Rick Kelly, getting on top of this physical recuperation period, because over the last couple of years they've done the 2 125k races on this day and then the big one tomorrow, but they've done a big one already, so it's back to the old days. You were there in those days. How tough is it to get back to the hotel tonight and somehow get your body and mind right for what you know is going to hit you tomorrow? It's still going to be hot.
Goes without saying, Matt, they built him a hell of a lot tougher back in the day. I mean, you've said that before. Look, but I think no better indication how tough than Dale Wood. We saw him, struggling to make common, good sense. Rick said it there. You start to lose the ability to do the micro thinking, the little bits and pieces, little adjustments in your car, turn in here, brake there, adjust the anti-roll bar. You let that go, drive by rhythm, and that's not the way forward. Simone, you saw the little mistake at the end. We see that at the end. That'll be as a result of dehydration. It's just that much harder tomorrow because you've got to get the fluids back in tonight and have another hit.
So the man who finished 2016 as the series champion starts 2017 with a win as well. Shane van Gisbergen and the Red Bull Holden Racing team are off to a flying start. The good news is we get to come back and do it all again tomorrow, so I hope you can join us here at the Clipsal 500. On behalf of all of our team, thanks for your company on day one. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.